Chapter 201, Emperor Chu's Help Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom, Chu Capital. Finally, not poor anymore. Luo Feng stood in his guest elder cave mansion and felt a rare, genuine relief. Before exploring the dream domain, he had been short on resources. Guest elder merits were scarce, and cosmic sand was almost worthless here. 300 billion cosmic sand paid for the chaotic realm transcendent. Huang Feng, city lord of Thunder Ancient Country, had been worth only about 1,000,000 merits. The 10,000 reward points he'd earned in the treasure land Infinite Space were precious, but he was hoarding them to exchange for the God King's Second Realm chapter of a special grade legacy. Resources mattered, but a special grade legacy mattered more. Reward points in Infinite Space were hard to come by. Every expenditure had to be weighed carefully. Over 80 million merits, enough to splurge a little. Luo Feng set his mind and left his mansion for Emperor Chu Palace to pay respects to his master. Inside the Emperor's palace, Di Chu was deeply immersed in cultivation. A vast, dark phantom loomed about him, radiating an interminable aura of destruction. A complete destruction origin great path, truly difficult to perfect. Di Chu opened his eyes. He had endured long torment, always tantalizingly close, yet unable to push through. Unlike those who relied on the Hunyuan bloodline, Di Chu had become an ultimate realm life form through treasures, so he wasn't bound by bloodline will and could keep perfect clarity while probing the great path. I've already mastered 5 ultimate realm secret techniques and built a sufficiently deep foundation, he thought. Among the emperors, I can rank in the top 5, but I still can't break through. He knew why. Only by mastering a complete great path could one remain on the origin continent in the next era. The threshold to leave the origin continent was becoming an ultimate realm life form. Those who left could survive outside if the origin continent were destroyed, but life beyond the source world was far harsher. The forebears of the two nations had endured such peril. To be recognized as a native life form of the new era, one who could stay through the destruction and rebirth of the source world, required comprehension of a complete great path. In the previous era, only the East Extremity Domain Ancestor and the two nations' forefathers, 3 in total, had achieved that and lived to this age. Others who became ultimate realm life forms through external means had often left the origin continent and survived elsewhere. Protection from my source world is vital. I must comprehend a complete great path, Di Chu resolved. The imperial god kings all had ambitions. The first step was to ascend to emperor or monarch, gaining the right to leave the origin continent and increasing resources and status. The second step was to master a complete great path. In this era, only Di Qing had done so. Even the emperor consort had chosen to reincarnate and abandon his Hunyuan bloodline to start anew to chase the same goal. Di Chu looked toward the palace entrance. His disciple Luo Feng had arrived and bowed respectfully. Master. Luo Feng remained at the threshold. Come in. Di Chu smiled. He admired Luo Feng. At the God King First Realm, Luo Feng had achieved startling results that even surpassed recorded history. Di Chu had high hopes. If his disciple grew strong, perhaps he could even help his master. Luo Feng entered the main hall. I heard you founded the Dao River sect recently, Di Chu said. To give ordinary cultivators more opportunities, Luo Feng replied casually. At his level, a sect's benefits were minor. Even if it produced 3 to 5 god kings, Luo Feng could split into hundreds of powerful clones. That was the way of cultivation. The stronger you got, the less each weaker individual mattered. Master, I came to ask if there's a way to obtain the 5-colored treasure medicine, Luo Feng said. Di Chu's eyes brightened. I used that medicine before. It's excellent. 1 dose costs 10 million merits. Do you have enough? Luo Feng shook his head. I don't have many guest elder merits, but I have some treasures that can be exchanged. That's no problem. I can help you purchase it. Di Chu hesitated only a moment, but the imperial family has a rule. When imperial members exchange treasures for themselves, they must use them personally. If they exchange them to trade externally, the exchange price is the same as a guest elder's. It prevents imperial god kings from emptying the treasury. Luo Feng nodded. If imperial god kings could act as vendors for outsiders, they'd make huge profits, so the rule made sense. The 5-colored treasure medicine is rare. I can get you at most 2 doses. Each dose is 10 million merits. Luo Feng's face lit up. Thank you, Master. Portions of that caliber could usually be obtained only once in a lifetime by guest elders, and then only with considerable contributions. Even an emperor could only claim 2 portions now. Outside the palace, the price would likely be far higher. Di Chu explained, the 5-colored treasure medicine is refined primarily with the heart of a Beyond God King level world beast, plus other materials. Once consumed, your body will resonate with the Destruction Origin Great Path and greatly accelerate cultivation. A Beyond God King level world beast? Luo Feng was intrigued. In our origin continent, even the world beast in Tianmu country only reaches the God King ultimate realm. Exactly, that beast wasn't from our source world. Di Chu did not hide the truth. I asked the ancestor about it. That was a powerful calamity beast from another source world that had broken fate's limits and cultivated into Beyond God King level. After leaving its source world, it found cultivation difficult, so it used its own heart and other parts to refine the 5-colored treasure medicine. Ancestor purchased some and kept them in the Imperial Reserve. Luo Feng stared. So that world beast refined the medicine itself? Killing a Beyond God King level world beast and keeping its corpse intact is nearly impossible. That beast refined the medicine itself in large quantities and sold them. That's why the price could be relatively low and why you can afford it. Di Chu smiled. Using its body to refine medicine, with time it could recover. The body of such a world beast is especially compatible with the Destruction Origin Great Path. The stronger the beast, the more valuable its materials, heart, blood, bones, each can be refined into cultivation treasures. Di Chu added, actually, the 5-colored treasure medicine is only the best surface-level auxiliary for the Destruction Origin Great Path. There's an even better treasure I once used. Even better. Luo Feng's pulse quickened. The Boundary Beast Blood Talisman. Di Chu said it plainly. Also personally refined by that Beyond God King level world beast, this talisman is made from its blood. One talisman costs 100 million merits. Once used, it can temporarily condense a complete Destruction Origin Great Path inside the user's body. One talisman's effect lasts about 3 epochs. Luo Feng listened, astonished. Di Chu smiled. Prepare treasures worth 100 million merits, and I'll buy one for you. I cultivate the Destruction Origin Great Path, so I can still exchange for one more. Good. Luo Feng nodded eagerly. He had never even heard of the Boundary Beast Blood Talisman before. This was beyond his expectations. People say I'm not good at teaching disciples, Di Chu mused, looking at Luo Feng. I know I'm not the best teacher. Your ability to top the chaotic realm transcendence and be first among God King First Realm, those come mostly from your own talent. As your master, what I can do is help you with resources, but you still need to provide some treasures yourself. Your master isn't wealthy either. Luo Feng smiled. For the Destruction Origin Great Path, these treasures will help. What about the Life Origin and Material Origin Great Paths? Are there other treasures I need? Anything I should ask you for? Luo Feng's tone was earnest. He had advanced far on the Life Origin Great Path and had begun experimenting with fusing branches of great paths. He needed specific materials. I need some 24 phase form life materials, Luo Feng said. Not much, just a small amount of flesh, blood, or scales. Is there any way to acquire them? Di Chu frowned slightly. The 24 phase form is one of the many manifestations of the Life Origin Great Path when it reaches the ultimate realm. It's very special. He explained. Origin life with Hunyuan bloodlines that were cultivated on the Origin continent are extremely potent physically, though their intelligence is low. Even chaotic realm origin life with the thinnest of Hunyuan bloodlines can manifest the 10 directions world life form. Luo Feng recalled the materials he had once gathered as town defender of Xiangji City. For those with denser bloodlines, Di Chu continued, God King First Realm origin life with Hunyuan bloodlines, I've not heard of any manifesting the 24 phase form. Among God King Second Realm origin life, only a very small number show it. God King Ultimate Realm origin life are even stronger, many surpassing the 24 phase form. And beyond God King level, those are true origin life, beings that have escaped the cage. Di Chu's voice grew firmer. The origin life with Hunyuan bloodline are prized and strictly guarded by both great ancient kingdoms. they are not allowed to circulate because their bloodline can be extracted to become an emperor or a monarch with relatively less difficulty. Unless you can offer treasures that even the ancestor would be tempted by, you won't get even a single drop. Dichu warned. We emperors and monarchs have no authority to give them away. Luo Feng absorbed the gravity of that. So a God King's second realm origin life with Hunyuan bloodline is theoretically the best Hunyuan bloodline a guest elder might obtain, Dichu summarized, but the threshold is astronomical. I only need a small amount of material, Luo Feng said again. I'll help you estimate the price and see what can be done, Dichu promised. But I advise starting with the Thunder Ancient Country. When it comes to cultivating origin life with Hunyuan bloodline, Thunder Ancient Country is superior to our Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom. They have more of them, and they're generally easier to obtain. Luo Feng nodded. Master, how much would it cost to buy some materials for the 24-phase form of life? That kind of origin life form is extremely valuable, Dichu replied. A fully refined Hunyuan bloodline, for a guest elder of Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom to obtain, goes for 1 billion contribution points. Small amounts aren't usually sold individually. Even the Thunder Ancient Country won't break them up for sale. I don't need a fully refined bloodline, Luo Feng said. I only need to comprehend the life form. A portion of a corpse will do. Can you sell me a part? A whole corpse yields 3 to 5 complete Hunyuan bloodlines depending on refining skill, Dichu said. If you don't need it refined, we can sell 1/3 of a corpse directly and save the refining cost. Luo Feng took it in. 1/3 of a Hunyuan bloodline creature with a 24-phase form of life cost 1 billion contribution points. Even for the heavenly Kun country lord or the lord of Shi country, raising that kind of sum would be extremely difficult. Their ventures were always dangerous, and losing a true body would cost them dearly. 1 billion is too steep, he murmured. Dichu added, in the Thunder Ancient Country it's cheaper, about 600 million contribution points. I understand, Luo Feng said, smiling wryly. It's all out of reach for me now. These materials mattered to Luo Feng. Without them, he could only craft the 24-phase form of life with divine power, and its physical potency would be far inferior. With actual material to study, however, he could, using formless and faceless, mimic and take on the physical body of a God King's second realm Hunyuan bloodline creature. Those bloodline bodies never fully unleashed their potential. By understanding their life form essence, he could unlock far more. Even if slightly weaker than an ultimate realm life form, such a body would be near that level. He also reminded himself of formless and faceless's limits. Since he had merged with the supreme rule as a God King, he knew formless and faceless could only transform into things native to the source world. Anything beyond the supreme rule's scope, it could not become. The Hunyuan bloodline creatures had been bred and altered for generations by the 2 great ancient kingdoms on the origin continent. They were native and thus compatible. Dichu suddenly extended a hand, and 2 black vials appeared in his palm, liquid faintly swirling inside. Here, 2 5-colored treasure medicines. Put them away. Luo Feng blinked, surprised at his master's promptness. Dichu waved it off. I haven't prepared treasures equivalent to 20 million contribution points yet, he said. You can give them to me when you're ready. Luo Feng accepted the vials. You have many clones, Dichu warned, so remember, the 5-colored treasure medicine must be taken by your true body. If a weak clone takes it, the medicine's effects will be limited to that clone. I understand. Luo Feng nodded. Dichu asked casually, You've been a God King a long time. Have you claimed the God King's second realm inheritances, the secret technique of cutting 72 slashes and the 8 tribulation life form? Yet, I promise to give them to you. Once you claim them, it will deduct from my contribution points. Luo Feng had not claimed them. Dichu guessed why. You went into the infinite space and saw better special grade inheritances there, perfect ones. You weren't in a rush for these 2, he said. But do not think higher grade always means better. The higher the grade, the harder to cultivate. And the higher the grade, the more reward points it costs in the infinite space treasure trove. He explained the scale. You can get a God King First Realm special grade inheritance for some points, but a God King Second Realm volume costs about 3,000 reward points. An Ultimate Realm volume costs about 60,000 reward points. Reward points are hard to come by in the infinite space. Even if a new great path reaches God King First Realm, you might only be awarded 10,000 reward points. Who can afford Ultimate Realm's special grade inheritances? Luo Feng absorbed that. Opening a Great Path branch and being granted 10,000 reward points was what his Chaos Realm body earned him when his soul will reached God King Ultimate Realm. But 60,000 reward points was out of reach for most. Superior grade inheritances are easier to obtain, Dichu added. They at least provide a clear route to the Ultimate Realm. Disciple understands. I will claim those two inheritances now, Luo Feng said. That day, he went to the Inheritance Hall to claim the God King Second Realm volumes of the secret technique of cutting 72 slashes and the 8 tribulation life form. He also sent treasures worth 20 million contribution points to his master. Dichu recognized them instantly as items from the dream domain and only smiled. Huyang City, in a quiet room of the City Lord's mansion, inside the Star Tower. Luo Feng's perfect divine body stood before one of the black bottles. The perfect divine body had fully recovered. Luo Feng intended to take the 5-colored treasure medicine with that true body. He uncorked the vial and poured the shimmering liquid straight into his mouth. The liquid glowed with 5 colors. As it flowed, it faintly projected the phantom of a world beast, about 7/10 similar to Morosa's true form. The whole draught went down. At once, Luo Feng's expression changed. It felt as if a massive universe detonated inside him. An overwhelming, terrifying power swept through his body and even into his soul. He had taken very few external substances during his cultivation, and never anything like the 5-colored treasure medicine. Now he understood why it was worth so much. New meridians erupted within his perfect divine body, an unfamiliar structure that reshaped him. Strength and speed climbed roughly 50 to 60%, not yet at world life form level, but the body had fundamentally changed. Law patterns and secret scripts danced at his signal. The mysteries of the destruction origin great path moved with him. An instinctive hunger rose within him, a compulsion to cleanse the source world. Weak life forms were too numerous, the source world too clogged. Fewer beings would mean more resources and stronger survivors. Luo Feng caught himself thinking in that brutal, utilitarian way and recoiled. His soul will quickly detected the cause. The 5-colored treasure medicine had not only altered his body, it had left a rune structure in his soul. Now his soul was more compatible with the destruction origin great path. The medicine had tuned him to manipulate destruction's mysteries naturally. From body to soul, he was attuned to destruction, and the urge to purge was part of that tuning. For world beasts born from the great path of destruction, such instincts were ingrained. Only soul enslavement could keep them in check. Luo Feng suppressed the intrusive urges with effort and turned to cultivation. The rune and meridians were maintained by the medicine's power. When it faded, the structures would collapse. He moved quickly. He turned first to the Chaotic Whole 6 strikes from the special grade inheritance Chaotic Whole Beast body. He had already comprehended 3 of the strikes previously. The first had taken the longest time, and after fully grasping it, he had understood all 6 branches of the destruction great path. The second and third had come faster. With the medicine's aid, the remaining strikes came in a flash. The foundation from the first 3 strikes let him absorb the 4th, 5th, and 6th with hardly any obstruction. He realized how mistaken his earlier view of the destruction origin great path had been. Destruction was not merely annihilation. It was a form of cleansing and rebirth. That change of perspective lowered the barriers to comprehension dramatically. Buoyed by those insights, Luo Feng decided to pursue the greatest secret technique a God King First Realm could theoretically learn in the Chaotic Whole Beast Body inheritance, world unification. World unification required first establishing a firm foundation, then forming 6 paths, and finally perfectly coordinating those 6 paths so that everything unified. The technique was abstruse, but once he grasped its essence, he solved the problem step by step and built the necessary structure. Time slid by. Luo Feng cultivated diligently, keeping a low profile and avoiding the origin continent's disputes. He cherished every moment while the five-colored treasure medicine sustained those meridians and soul runes. 3 epochs passed. Then, inside the Star Tower, the medicine's power finally ran out. The meridians in his perfect divine body and the rune structure in his soul disintegrated. The sense of being one with the destruction great path vanished. It felt unfamiliar again. For a moment, Luo Feng was at a loss. The favored sensation of being the great path's child had abruptly vanished. But when he reviewed the 3 epochs he had spent under the medicine's influence, the results were clear. His comprehension of the destruction origin great path had undergone a complete transformation. He had made enormous progress. Chapter 203, Sleeping in Dreamland. In a hollow of the dream domain's outer layer, fierce winds howled and jagged stones jutted up like teeth. One of those stones, weathered by countless years, suddenly moved. The stone reshaped itself into a black-scaled, golden-horned figure, one of Luo Feng's 3 avatars stationed in the outer dream domain. When his perfect divine body focused on comprehending the destruction origin great path, his other avatars lay almost dormant. My cultivation with the 5-colored treasure medicine is finished. Now I can properly refine my soul will, the avatar thought, and slipped away. With his other avatars scouting ahead, Luo Feng soon approached the dream domain's deep layer. Ahead stretched a space even darker than the surroundings, with faint streaks of lightning. He entered carefully. As expected of the deep layer, he murmured, a crushing pressure bore down on his soul, layer upon layer of soul oppression, unending and oppressive. He felt his fatigue multiply. Only a will at the God King ultimate realm could maintain steady consciousness here. Most ancient beings who explored the dream domain cultivated the Hunyuan bloodline and had to split their attention to suppress its residual will. To form a team in which every member could traverse this deep layer was almost impossible. An individual who did enter would also face far stronger dream domain creatures. One of Luo Feng's avatars spotted 3 black-bodied flame beasts. By aura alone, each could contend with a stone monster leader. One beast noticed him and burst into a ball of black flame, roaring to engulf the avatar. Escape! Luo Feng's avatar split into 10 smaller avatars and scattered. One was caught, burned, and annihilated. The dream domain's deep layer crushes the soul will more intensely, and its creatures are far more deadly, Luo Feng thought as he watched. But the treasures here are richer. It's just that very few can come and gather them. Even Guaishu emperors and monarchs usually had to divide their attention to suppress bloodline will, so few were qualified to work the deep layer. A few of the monsters here could rival a Reincarnation little building team. Some dream domain factions could even trap the true bodies of Guaishu emperors and monarchs who dared enter. Luo Feng explored the area by scattering avatars, but with his current strength, he could hardly secure a single treasure. In the dream domain's middle layer, he could still snatch a few things, but the deep layer was another order of danger. The dream domain creatures carried traces of will but lacked true souls. Most remained rooted in their territories and could never leave this dream domain space. Over time, the space itself changed. Some creatures perished, others emerged. Some old powers on the origin continent even argued the dream domain was a dream, a creation of Yuan. But that didn't explain how beings sometimes entered with their true bodies or why treasures taken out worked normally. Whatever its nature, it made beings revere Yuan all the more. He found a secluded spot on the mountainside of a barren peak, sat cross-legged, and stilled himself, transforming his avatar back into a stubborn rock. He began the Great Destruction Heart Refining method. In the deep layer, he had no interest in hunting treasures or provoking monsters. Simply cultivating here was dangerous enough. The dream domain's pressure on the soul kept building, crushing and reshaping. With the effects of the 5-colored treasure medicine having deepened his grasp of the destruction origin great path, the Great Destruction Heart Refining method underwent a leap in power. The double tempering, a harsher refining method in a harsher environment, was agonizing. Pain struck every second as his soul was crushed and reformed. Impurities and intrusive thoughts repeatedly burned away. Unlike the 7 emotions heart method, which refines by emotional resonance and can be pleasant but hard to sustain, the Great Destruction Heart Refining method was average short-term but well-suited to long, prolonged tempering. It was fortunate that he'd learned it from the Li Yuan art. As he endured, he noticed many unstable thoughts in his soul being wiped out in the cycle of destruction and reconstitution. The dream domain's erosion quietly intensified with each cycle. After roughly half an epoch of cultivation in the deep layer, his exhausted soul was suddenly overwhelmed by the dream domain. In an instant, he was pulled under into a deep sleep. One by one, his avatars in the outside world, even the one in infinite space, fell into the same slumber. The stone avatar in the deep layer became nothing but a stone. Luo Feng's consciousness dissolved into a dream in which he thought he had transformed into a colossal flying being. A monstrous hand seized him, terror flooded him, but resistance vanished. He fled, begged for aid, called to ancestors. Chaotic, fragmented thoughts tumbled through the dream. He seemed to escape that hand only to be caught in formations, to flee again, chased by shifting figures. The dream looped and twisted. He was always running in utter fear. While asleep, he had no control and had automatically stopped practicing the great destruction heart-refining method. His soul will had already reached the extreme bottleneck of the God-King level. In the dream, after a frantic flight, the will began to stir awake. "I'm dreaming?" he wondered, amazed. Dreaming had become a distant thing ever since his soul realm matured. Gradually, he recognized himself. "I am Luo Feng, cultivating in the dream domain's deep layer." As he gained awareness, the dream wavered. He tried to steady it. The dream was strange and immense. In it, he felt a vast origin life, grander than the complete great Tao of life he had observed before, hinting at a supreme rule. The figure that chased him felt more terrifying than entire source worlds. He tried to harmonize with the dream, to hold it together, but he ultimately woke. The dream fragmented and dissolved. On the barren mountainside, in that deep dream domain space, the stubborn rock opened its eyes. Luo Feng remembered only shards of the dream, that he had become a colossal being and that something horribly terrifying had pursued him. He could not recall the pursuer's appearance or the exact movements. "How could I have a dream like that?" he asked himself. Normally, beings who fell into a deep dream inside the dream domain had great difficulty awakening. They needed others to fetch their true bodies, or a rare breakthrough in the dream itself could pull them free. Luo Feng had forced his soul into active cultivation here, and then fallen asleep. Once asleep, he had ceased practicing the great destruction heart-refining method. With the true strength of his will, however, he had managed to rouse himself. He felt worn out after half an epoch of cultivation. "I'll rest a while," he decided, and quietly left the deep layer, returning to the outer dream domain, to the primordial universe, that mysterious place. His divine power avatar resumed studying the complete great Tao of life before him. He was surprised at how much his destruction origin accumulation had advanced in just 3 epochs with the help of the 5-colored treasure medicine. It was now comparable to the great Tao of life. He also knew that once that portion of treasure medicine was used, progress would slow dramatically. There were only 2 portions of the 5-colored treasure medicine in total, and the Boundary Beast Blood Talisman was even rarer. With Master Dichu's standing, he had been able to exchange for 1 portion. Others might not be so fortunate. Guest God Kings wouldn't even be allowed near such treasures. Whether the 5-colored treasure medicine or the Boundary Beast Blood Talisman, both had to be used at critical moments. When confronting the Great Tao, many superficial aspects could be learned with time, but the most difficult breakthroughs required aid. Luo Feng decided his next dose of 5-colored treasure medicine would be after 30 epochs. The medicine was relatively less scarce. With effort, he could obtain more. The Boundary Beast Blood Talisman, however, he would save for the God King's second realm as a decisive blow against the ultimate realm. Life and destruction were truly different paths. He turned his attention to the great Tao of life and began immersing himself in it, a useful alternation when one path stalled. He could switch focus, fuse creation and destruction, then return and loosen the bottleneck. Cultivation was accumulation over time. Not long after he resumed his life cultivation, Luo Feng received a second invitation for action from Guisu Emperor. Among all the members of the Reincarnation Little Building, the ones most active in the recent operations were the Guishu Emperor, Wuxin God King, Luo Feng, and Yuntian God King. Yuntian God King, with only a single true body and comparatively modest strength, rarely risked overly dangerous missions. Over many ensuing epochs, Guishu, Wuxin, and Luo Feng repeatedly carried out most of the tasks. Yuntian joined only when she felt confident. Tiantu King, Lord Dazizai, and Blackfire Demon Lord took part occasionally. The top-tier figures, Empress Fengdu and Earth God King, seldom formed teams to act. Through those repeated missions, Luo Feng and the other members of the Reincarnation Little Building grew increasingly familiar with one another. Huyang City, Dao River Sect Headquarters. Senior Brother Xin Yu. Senior Brother Xin Yu. The sect's disciples fell into respectful greeting as a blue-clothed youth strode through. A saber hung on his back with a wind chime on the hilt, ringing softly with every gust. Since the Dao River sect's founding, the ancestor Luo He God King had accepted only 2 personal disciples. Xin Yu was the brightest of them, the one whose talent outshone even Mo Yu Qingyan. That reputation had made him the most celebrated young genius among the countless elites of the surrounding Chao states. Elder Luo saw. Xin Yu immediately detected a powerful aura and bowed. The Dao River sect had 2 elders, the original elder and Elder Luosa, who managed the sect's affairs. "How was your recent mission, Xin Yu?" Elder Luosa watched the youth with mixed feelings. "My accumulations are sufficient. I've come back to go into seclusion and break through to the Chaos realm," Xin Yu replied respectfully. Elder Luosa nodded, pleased. "With what you've gathered, it's about time. Go and break through quickly. Once you do, you'll be the first Chaos Realm disciple since the Dao River sect was founded." Xin Yu bowed and left. Elder Luosa watched him go, muttering to himself, "The gap is too great. My poor Qingyan can't compare." He had raised Mo Yu Qingyan from a true god personally, and his attachment showed. Qingyan was diligent and had been given every possible aid, yet despite the help, even the Hunyuan bloodline path hadn't been enough to push him ahead. By contrast, Xin Yu, born in a weak tribe, had cultivated the infinite divine body and advanced rapidly along the law path, gaining deep accumulations and mastering many Chaos Realm techniques. The difference was overwhelming, and it rankled the elder. "If I can't teach Qingyan directly, I'll have to rely on my own strength," Elder Luo Sa thought. "The stronger I am, the more secure his position. If I reach the ultimate realm, Qingyan's status as my personal disciple will be a strong deterrent." He decided to seek Luo Feng's counsel. In a pavilion at the city lord's mansion, Luo Feng sat in black robes. "Master," Elder Luosa said as he arrived. "You rushed over from the Dao River sect in a hurry. What is it?" Luo Feng smiled. Elder Luosa explained Xin Yu's imminent breakthrough and then voiced his frustration with his own slow progress. "The Dao River sect has stood for over 100 epochs, but I've seen little advance, slowly absorbing heaven and earth power. When will I become a second realm god king? When will I reach the ultimate realm?" Luo Feng smiled reassuringly. "Don't be anxious. There will be good news soon." Elder Luo Sa's eyes brightened. "You mean exactly what you guessed." Luo Feng waved a hand. "Go and cultivate. Put more effort into it." Elder Luo Sa nodded and withdrew, mood a little lighter. Luo Feng, for his part, was also worried. "I've exhausted every avenue for materials from the partial corpse of the 24-phase form creature," he muttered. For over 100 epochs he had wanted those materials. His master Di Chu had once needed them, and he'd pushed the matter repeatedly. The Yanfeng ancient kingdom tightly guarded top-tier primordial origin bloodline creatures, so acquiring anything required bending many rules. Now, he hoped it was up to Blackfire. A message arrived from Blackfire Demon Lord. Blackfire had unified a faction of god kings with grudges against the Thunder Ancient country, where the Life Mother River, led by the Mother River Master, opposed the Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom. The Blackfire Gate, led by Blackfire Demon Lord, resisted the Thunder Ancient country. Though smaller in influence than the Life Mother River, the Blackfire Gate remained a formidable force capable, at crucial moments, of bringing out the Earth God King as a rescuer. In the Reincarnation Little Building, Luo Feng met Blackfire Demon Lord face to face. Blackfire's features were handsome, with flame-like markings on his face. He had been a guest god king in the Thunder Ancient country and had once risen to the second realm, ambitious for a throne. But as a guest god king, he never received the resources to become a monarch. After a desperate attempt to steal a primordial origin bloodline failed, he fled. Despite that, his talent for making allies had kept the Blackfire Gate alive. Many within the Thunder Ancient Country and many rogue god kings remained his friends. "You sought me out?" Luo Feng asked. "Ha! If it's familiarity with the Thunder Ancient Country's imperial god kings, I can claim second place on the Origin continent, and few could argue with that," Blackfire said with a wry grin. He explained that he'd arranged something. "Your matter is settled. 1/10 of a 24-phase form primordial origin corpse has been smuggled out. The exchange price is 300 million merit points. That should be within your budget, right?" Luo Feng felt his heart race. Getting any portion of such a corpse had been nearly impossible. The Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom demanded 100 million merit points and fought fiercely to keep these materials. On the Thunder Ancient Country's side, the price was even higher. Full pieces could run 650 million merit points or more. Over 100 epochs Luo Feng had taken part in every Reincarnation little building operation, but even with Guisu Emperor and the others' zeal, they averaged one action every 10 or so epochs. Luo Feng had collected only about 500 million merit points in treasures total, and the Boundary Beast Blood Talisman would consume another 100 million. He might only be able to spend about 400 million. He'd planned to wait, but this offer changed the math. "Keep in mind," Blackfire added, "it's only 1/10 of the corpse. You won't be able to extract a complete primordial origin bloodline from it. A whole corpse can yield 3 to 5 complete bloodlines. This is only a fragment, as you agreed." "No problem," Luo Feng said. Blackfire smiled. "I won't ask how this piece was obtained. I'll bring it to Huyang City, and we'll complete the transaction there." Luo Feng was grateful. A moment later, with a whoosh, Blackfire Demon Lord descended beside him in the City Lord's mansion. "This is the 10th, Blackfire said, setting a cloth bag on the table. Luo Feng placed a jade bottle of treasures beside it. Luo Feng opened the cloth bag and felt the hidden space within. Inside lay a titanic tail section, hundreds of millions of kilometers long, clearly the tip of a whole tail, a mountain-sized half-hoof armored with scales, and the heavy, raw scent of flesh and blood that carried a terrifying, lingering will. Scattered around were scales, muscles, bones, blood, enough material to suggest this was indeed 1/10 of a once massive corpse after its primordial origin bloodlines had been extracted. 300 million merit points? Blackfire glanced at the jade bottle, smiling. "Brother Luo Hei, you gave too much." "For Brother Blackfire to buy some good wine," Luo Feng replied with a smile. Blackfire appreciated the gesture. He had risked a great deal and spent 30-odd epochs orchestrating the smuggling of this piece from the Thunder Ancient Country's strict control. The extra 20 or 30 million meant little compared to the friendship he was building. Luo Feng's role in treasure hunts had already been indispensable. When he eventually reached the second realm, he might well become a presence comparable to an emperor or monarch. Blackfire valued that potential above any immediate profit. He'd done the same to befriend Earth God King long ago. They completed the exchange in Huyang City, both satisfied. For Luo Feng, a long-blocked necessity had finally been acquired. For Blackfire, another influential ally had been won. Chapter 205, First Phase. Blackfire Demon Lord put the jade bottle away and warned again. "Brother Luo He, you know that getting even a partial corpse of a Hunyuan bloodline beast is forbidden. This must be kept secret, and the corpse materials, do not spread them outside." "Don't worry, it won't be spread," Luo Feng answered. Blackfire Demon Lord nodded and vanished. Luo Feng kept the cloth bag in his hand. Even without the reminder, he understood how difficult it had been to obtain 1/10 of such a corpse. For over 100 epochs, he had pushed this matter in the Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom and the Thunder Ancient Country. Although his attempts had failed, he had seen the obstacles firsthand. Hunyuan bloodline creatures at that level were guarded by Emperor and Monarch-level town defenders. The highest, ultimate realm Hunyuan beasts were rumored to be protected by avatars or incarnations of the two great ancestors, afraid the beasts might break free and wreak catastrophe. Luo Feng stepped and teleported back to the quiet room, entering the Star Tower. In one of the Star Tower's inner spaces, he emptied the cloth bag and spread the corpse parts out. Boom. The largest piece was half a hoof, by itself almost half of the material. The hoof towered like a mountain. Hooked claws at its tip measured over 100 million kilometers. There was a massive segment of tail several 100 million kilometers long. These two pieces were relatively intact. The rest consisted of vast amounts of scales, muscle, bone, and a huge volume of blood. The aura was overwhelming. Luo Feng inhaled sharply. The body exhibits the 24-phase form. This Hunyuan bloodline creature, though said to be God King Second Realm in strength, is probably top tier among them, Luo Feng observed. Low intelligence and low realm, yet it displays such power. Roar. A huge phantom condensed faintly from the corpse, an infinitely towering upright figure that stared at Luo Feng and unleashed an enraged roar. Bloodline will, Luo Feng realized. This was not the will of the deceased individual, but the will of the origin behind the Hunyuan bloodline, a true primordial origin life. Even after generations of reproduction and dilution, that will could still pass through the bloodline, carrying enormous corrupting power. Anyone who walked the Hunyuan path had to withstand that corruption. The path was riddled with flaws and disaster, but if one could survive them, the rewards were immense. The Thunder Ancestor and the Yanfeng Ancestor had captured primordial origin lives and used their bloodlines to reproduce for generations on the origin continent, diluting the lineage. Luo Feng ignored the illusory will and reached out to touch the scales, probing the dark yellow hooked claws with his consciousness to peer into the internal structure. The matter magnified billions of times, and he examined the finest details. Every 10 particles fused tightly into one unit, naturally a single phase. 240 particles were divided into 24 groups. Those 24 groups of particles intertwined and rotated, forming 24 spaces. The spaces linked like a formation, tightly combined and constantly turning. It's magnificent, Luo Feng breathed. Although the special inheritances had explained the structure in detail, seeing the living 24-phase form material in front of him was like viewing a three-dimensional blueprint, far more shocking than any description. Perfect. What a perfect life. The basic structure of each life contains 24 spaces combined so tightly they form a formation. It would be incredibly difficult to destroy even one such life. Luo Feng realized why the 10 Directions world form could only be considered an entry-level world life form. The 24-phase form truly embodied the terrifying aspects of a world life form. The world life form path was dreadful, but the special inheritance of world life form only extended up to the ultimate realm chapter within infinite space. His ability to use that inheritance also relied on his formless and faceless skill, which could only transform substances born on the origin continent. The origin continent could not nurture substances above God King Ultimate Realm. If he ever reached Ultimate Realm, he might have to change his path, something to think about later. For now, within the origin continent, he needed strength that feared nothing. The combination of the 6 major branches in each phase is too perfect, he murmured, immersing himself. He studied continuously for 10,000 days. Then, a sudden flash of insight struck. A complete image of the first phase unfolded in his mind. Book learning is always shallow. Seeing the actual life materials let me break through the last bottleneck and comprehend the first phase of the 24-phase form. Luo Feng laughed aloud. Of all 24 phases, the first phase was the hardest to grasp. Because the difficulty of each phase was similar, once the first phase fell into place, the second and third would come more easily. Grasping the first phase was like mastering half of the life form. I can feel that with effort. Within 10 epochs, the life origin great path could reach God King Second Realm, he told himself. The comprehension of the first phase had given him enormous experience in fusing the 6 branches. No wonder the inheritance records say the 24-phase form is theoretically the highest life form a God King First Realm can master. But after understanding 3 or 4 phases, a breakthrough is natural. Luo Feng was pleased. Advancing from God King First Realm to Second Realm remained difficult. Many God Kings were trapped at First Realm and ultimately chose the Hunyuan path. Even someone as proud as Jiayin God King, who refused the Hunyuan route, had become invincible within the first realm, but found the second realm rare and hard to reach. I only just became a God King and already master the 6 branches, he reflected. My smooth cultivation owes much to that. He remained cautious, though. Every step had to be solid. Shortcuts taken now would cost him later when trying to comprehend the complete great path beyond God King. He would not rush the process. Compared to the life origin great path, the destruction origin great path has accumulated much slower. Even taking the 5-colored treasure medicine twice accelerated it, but not enough to promise a quick break to God King's second realm, he sighed inwardly. Still, with the 24-phase life material as a reference, his progress on the life path would be smoother. It seemed likely the life path would reach second realm first. Luo Feng collected a small amount of material: scales, muscle, bone fragments, some blood, the membrane from the tail, and the shortest hooked claw, less than 1,000th of what he had. He set them aside, then sent a mental summons. Morosa, come to the Star Tower. Ever since his master had said there will be good news soon, Morosa had been restless. He had been waiting for this summons. He arrived at the quiet room inside the City Lord's mansion, entered the Star Tower without difficulty, and saw the towering Hunyuan corpse materials. Master. Morosa's voice trembled. He had only just opened his mouth, then froze, eyes brightening at the huge hoof. Devour it, his world beast instincts screamed. He wanted to devour the mass. This is, Morosa stammered, breathless with desire. This is about 1/10 of a Hunyuan bloodline creature's corpse, Luo Feng said. Its physical strength far exceeds a normal God King second realm and even shows traits of an ultimate realm life form. I can feel it, Morosa muttered. If I just eat this, I'll definitely break through. I'll be much stronger. I spent almost everything I'd gathered since coming to the Origin continent, even incurring debts to get this, Luo Feng said with a wry smile. Morosa, this cost me a lot. He was half joking. He had paid primarily for his own study of the 24-phase form. Still, he had only taken a few scraps for himself, most of the material he intended for Morosa. Thank you, Master. You're so good to me. Morosa's eyes burned with gratitude and greed. He could barely contain himself. Are you sure you can reach God King's second realm? Luo Feng asked. Definitely. This material will do more for me than 10 God King second realm corpses. I'll gain deep accumulation even within the God King second realm stage, Morosa replied confidently. All right, after you break through, I want to see what a God King second realm world beast can do. Luo Feng waved his hand. Go to your own space and slowly absorb it. Whoosh! The corpse materials and Morosa were moved into his exclusive space. Malos stared at the pile and immediately opened his maw. Streams of blood poured into him. Though the bloodline will still roared, Morosa paid it no heed. He wasn't trying to fuse with the bloodline, but to devour and digest it within his internal world. As the blood flooded his world, Morosa felt the world expand and surge. Its growth rate accelerated wildly. I'm getting closer and closer to the ultimate realm, he thought, eagerly devouring every scrap. Chapter 206, Morosa's Breakthrough, was studying the materials for the 24-phase form, and he could sense Morosa's cultivation progress at any time. This time, Morosa was absorbing and digesting painfully slowly. Luo Feng watched as the beast spent over 100 days merely absorbing the blood, then moved on to the muscles. Painstakingly meticulous. More than 1,000 days later, he had devoured all the bones. Finally, after consuming all the fragments, Morosa opened his maw and swallowed the tail, hundreds of millions of kilometers long, into the world within his body. After that swallow, he began to change. He reverted to his true form, snow-white scales sprouting over his body, each scale emitting a sacred light, as if that light were meant to purify everything around it. The invisible aura made Luo Feng's heart stir. Morosa has just broken through to God King's second realm, and he's naturally evolving his body. Luo Feng thought, silently impressed. For mortal cultivators, breaking a realm still requires comprehending matching secret arts. Luo Feng himself had to understand the 24-phase form, gather its materials, and combine them with his formless and faceless technique to transform his body. World beasts, however, are born as perfect world life forms, As they grow, they integrate body techniques, domain techniques, assassination methods, and all manner of secret arts naturally, heading straight for the ultimate. Once he's fully digested everything, we must spar, Luo Feng mused with interest. He also noticed news further afield. His second disciple, Xin Yu, had finally broken through to the Chaos realm. Dao River Sect, headquarters main hall. Luo Feng's registered disciples had gathered in the hall. The Dao River Sect was a relatively young sect, founded by a powerful overlord on the Origin continent a little over 100 epochs ago. Only direct disciples, registered disciples, and the two elders were permitted into this hall. Senior brother Xinyu is incredible. This seclusion paid off, and he reached the Chaos realm, one registered disciple whispered. He's the first Chaos realm expert our sect has produced since its founding, another added, equal parts envy and hope in their voices. Mo Yu Qingyan, in a green robe, then walked in. Senior brother, the disciples greeted respectfully. He was the master's first disciple and also a disciple of Elder Luo Sa. His standing in the sect was unquestioned. Mo Yu Qingyan smiled and chatted briefly with his juniors. Senior brother can still smile. A few watched him with mixed admiration and hesitation. Mo Yu Qingyan had followed the Hunyuan bloodline path. Despite his efforts, he had not yet reached the Chaos realm. His second junior brother, following the infinite divine body law path, had. Then Xinyu entered, wearing a blue robe. His blade was no longer visible, but as a Chaos realm being, his life level had risen noticeably. Senior brother Xinyu, the disciples greeted, more sincere than before. Mo Yu Qingyan looked at his junior brother with emotion. Xinyu had worked hard and leapt ahead. Senior brother, Xinyu replied politely. Xinyu, your breakthrough is a great boon to the Dao River sect, Mo Yu Qingyan said. You're the first Chaos realm expert we've cultivated. Xinyu smiled. There will be more in the future. I'm only a step ahead. With senior brother's foundation, you'll reach the Chaos realm soon. Mo Yu Qingyan gave a wry smile. The registered disciples listened, their hopes stirred. An invisible pressure suddenly swept through the hall. All eyes lifted to the throne. Luo Feng, in a silver robe, sat there. Elder Luo Sa was seated to his left. Master! Mo Yu Qingyan and Xinyu bowed at once. The registered disciples followed. To be a disciple of City Lord Luo Feng was to be firmly attached to power. They'd endured hardship to join the Dao River sect and knew how dangerous the Origin continent could be. The Lord of Shi country, the Lord of Yu country, and City Lord Luo. He formed a three-way power balance in the region. Being Luo Feng's disciple was a formidable attachment. Luo Sa is in seclusion, cultivating, so he couldn't be here, Luo Feng said, smiling down. Xinyu, achieving the Chaos realm so quickly shows remarkable talent. From today, you shall become an elder of the Dao River sect. Yes, Xinyu answered. Luo Feng waved his hand. A set of top-grade Chaos realm weapon secret treasures, a green jade bottle and a black jade bottle, and other items flew out and hovered in front of Xinyu. I bestow upon you a set of top-grade Chaos realm secret treasures, 10 billion cosmic sand, and 10 auxiliary cultivation treasures, Luo Feng said casually. Xinyu looked at the treasures in astonishment. Each weapon was terrifyingly powerful, top-grade Chaos realm artifacts that together must be worth hundreds of billions of cosmic sand. The 10 auxiliary treasures were extremely rare and costly. Even the 10 billion cosmic sand, ordinary as it sounded, was a fortune. Thank you, Master, Xinyu said, feeling the weight of being under such an overlord. The other disciples watched greedily. The gift was generous, but Luo Feng didn't consider it extravagant. In many neighboring nations, a Chaos realm expert who joins a lord might receive a Chaos state as a fief, an income and binding equal far greater in value. Luo Feng's gifts were outright presents. As his disciples grew and proved themselves, he would bestow much more. That was why so many cultivators desired to follow mighty masters. Elder Luo Sa benefited too. Luo Feng had also given him Hunyuan crystal spirit fruits and other treasures suitable for Chaos realm cultivation, inheritances he'd acquired from various treasure lands. For Elder Luo Sa, Luo Feng provided full support. He was the second pillar of the human race. For Xinyu, Luo Feng treated him as a direct disciple. The resources for the two were naturally different. Luo Feng could sense Elder Luo Sa's innate strength was greater than Xinyu's. Luo Sa now possessed a strength worthy of a Chaos realm guest elder, the peak of the Chaos realm. Drawing on inheritance in the Yanfeng ancient kingdom's halls, Elder Luosa had forged his own path. His true body and his illusory clone had become indistinguishable in power. But forging a path was arduous. Elder Luosa had not followed the orthodox world origin great path. He fused the illusory and the real, his own invented illusory path with the world origin great path. The integration was difficult. Luo Feng glanced at Elder Luosa. He himself had forged the life and destruction great path, but had yet to understand any branches of the great path. Forging a path was not easy. At the Star Tower, after half an epoch of devouring and absorbing, Morosa had finished ingesting the Hunyuan bloodline creature's essence and halted his cultivation. He now stood in his true form, scales snow-white, the scales on his head forming a natural crown. Sacred light radiated from him in all directions. His invisible might was terrifying. "How do you feel?" Luo Feng asked. Morosa looked at his master. "I feel great. I feel stronger than you, master." Luo Feng laughed. "Is that so? Sounds like you're asking for a beating." "Master, try me. I don't believe you can still beat me." Morosa's pride swelled. The evolution of his body, the natural strengthening of his soul, and his integration with the destruction origin great path had hardened his will and mind, pushing him toward a god-king limit. He felt invincible in every respect. "Then let's try." As Luo Feng spoke, a silver-robed image of him appeared nearby. The figure transformed into a dazzling silver blade light and slashed toward Morosa. Morosa stood bathed in sacred light. As the silver blade approached, it slowed, more and more, until at about a jang away, it halted completely. "This clone of yours can't even touch me," Morosa said, smiling. "I'm not like the flawed God King Second Realm experts like the Lord of Shi Country. I have no weaknesses, domain, energy, body, or close combat. Your clone can't break through my domain." "Interesting," Luo Feng said. "Then I'll give it my all." Boom! Suddenly, a colossal figure descended from another spatial layer of the Star Tower. Luo Feng himself, resplendent in silver robes and immense in scale, holding an enormous blood shadow blade. The aura he gave off matched Morosa's in intensity. This was Luo Feng's massive world lifeform body, wielded without using the Star Tower's full power. Morosa grinned. "Now this is getting interesting. I'll give you 3 moves first." Morosa was brimming with confidence. The Hunyuan bloodline absorption had brought him tremendous growth. He had naturally comprehended many God King Second Realm's secret arts and believed that any casual technique would be enough to handle his master. Let him have 3 moves? This 1/3 world lifeform body Luo Feng had created placed a heavy burden on his mind and will, but Luo Feng could still activate the techniques inscribed on the blood shadow blade. Boom! Luo Feng struck. The blade light that erupted was blinding, dazzling, and relentless. It carried the full might of Luo Feng's massive world lifeform, surging and erupting like colossal stars crushing down in the Liyuan art. The moment Morosa sensed it, it was already upon him. An invisible force corroded through him first. Before he could fully react, the crushing tide of power hit, unavoidable. It battered and chewed at his body, corroded, sliced, twisted, crushed, annihilated. All forms of destructive power converged and assaulted him, tearing the body apart. Master is truly master. Even at God King First Realm, he can unleash such power. It's terrifying. Morosa's body was crushed 99%, fragments and energy scattering, yet the invisible energy around him continued to swirl and gather. A blurry, echoing voice said, "But Master, I am a world beast. You want to kill me with moves from the Destruction Origin Great Path? That's no easy task." In an instant, Morosa was whole again. Sacred light flared, and he stood unscathed. 2 more moves, Morosa said, smiling at Luo Feng. "Come on." Chapter 207. Surprised Luo Feng stared at Morosa, surprised. As a 1/3 world lifeform, Morosa needed only a sliver of mental power to trigger the blood shadow blade techniques. In raw force, it already reached 50 to 60% of Guishu Emperor's output. The techniques weren't as refined. Guishu Emperor and Wuxin God King had both comprehended Ultimate Realm's secret methods, but the strength was undeniable. As expected of a world beast, so powerful right after reaching God King's Second Realm. Luo Feng finished speaking and struck again. Whoosh! The blade light sliced through heaven and earth, leaving a scar across the world. The mark tore through Morosa's body, splitting it in 2. Healing began immediately, but the wound the blade left hindered the regeneration. This move is weaker than the last, but it feels like it severs everything, Morosa said, surprised. Master, what is this technique called? It's a special legacy I learned. It contains a very strong God King Second Realm secret technique called Oneness. Luo Feng didn't hide it. Oneness divides into 3 levels: Foundation, 6 Paths, and Oneness. I'm at the 6 Paths level, proficient in 6 different techniques. Morosa praised him. Master's technique is powerful. It should be 30 to 40% of my secret technique's strength. Luo Feng's expression darkened. Good heavens, this was already his strongest move. He struck again. 3rd move. His whole being and the blood shadow blade seemed to become one. Boom! Rainbow light flashed and penetrated Morosa's body. Inside, it detonated. Power surged in all directions, tearing Morosa's internal structures apart. Master, are you self-detonating? Morosa felt the terrifying force within him, but his eyes showed a trace of confidence. His body ballooned under the explosion, then forced its way through and withstood the blast. A streak of rainbow light shot out from Morosa, Luo Feng, blade in hand. This isn't self-detonation, Luo Feng said. This clone of mine burned only 1/10 of itself. Direct self-detonation was inefficient. The Oneness explosive technique scaled with how much of the body it consumed. The more burned, the greater the power. Burning even 1/10 had been all Luo Feng could endure for this move. 1/10 was enough to wound me. If it erupted fully, it could take 30 to 40% of my power, Morosa admitted, sighing. Master, as a God King First Realm, you truly are strong. Luo Feng was a little speechless. Morosa was already far stronger. Killing isn't my specialty, Luo Feng said, meeting Morosa's gaze. Your turn. Attack as you like. If you can, destroy this world life-form clone of mine. All right. Morosa's true form erupted with light. Instantly, the layer of space within the star tower filled with brilliant white. It felt purifying. The radiant corrosion ate at Luo Feng. His massive physical form showed ragged wounds that kept recovering. Luo Feng looked around, his skin shredded, constantly knitting itself back. I can't find him by realm alone, he thought. As master of the Star Tower, he could control everything inside it, and as Morosa's master, he understood Morosa's state now. Morosa had merged with heaven and earth. The layer of space inside the Star Tower had become him. Master, be careful. A terrifying force slammed in, flattening the space as though compressing everything. It flattened Luo Feng's body too, stretching it into a silver river, but even then his world life form remained intact. Destroy. An invisible assault struck every life structure within Luo Feng's form. It hurt, but each of Luo Feng's life structures was its own little world and could resist. Morosa cycled through 30 different techniques, but Luo Feng's clone was a 1/3 world life form with enormous energy reserves. Even if an emperor had attacked directly, it would take several moves to annihilate it. Master's world life form recovers too quickly. Morosa halted. My attrition rate can't keep up with his healing. You are very powerful. The Silver River coalesced into a silver-clad Luo Feng. Among God King's Second Realm warriors, your strength is peak level, enough to rival Gushu Emperor, Wu Xin God King, and the others. Luo Feng and the members of the Reincarnation Little Building had explored many treasure lands and learned a lot, so he could judge Morosa's strength. Peak God King Second Realm? Morosa mused. In profundity of techniques, you still lag behind Guishu Emperor and Wuxin God King, Luo Feng admitted. But you're more complete. The power of a perfected life form is massive. Morosa's foundation was extremely deep. He had no clear weaknesses. Still too weak, Morosa shook his head. I heard that a peak God King Second Realm, facing an emperor or a monarch, can at best reincarnate. Emperors and monarchs are ultimate realm life forms, Luo Feng said. As emperors and monarchs of the 2 great ancient kingdoms, they wield powerful secret treasure weapons, comparable to a peak world beast. Those like Guishu Emperor could force a God King Second Realm peak to reincarnate. Only a few, Wuxin God King, the Archmaster of the time-space lonely boat, had escape abilities strong enough to get away from an emperor or monarch. My world life form included, Luo Feng continued. Your damage can't outpace my recovery, but against an emperor or monarch, a few more moves could annihilate my body. Morosa's eyes narrowed. Even 100 attacks might land in the blink of an emperor's speed. It wouldn't require many moves, he said. If they can rival a peak world beast, they could break the cage, expel you from the source world, and toss you out. If you can't return, your world life form would be annihilated in Hunyuan space within a single breath. Luo Feng was taken aback. Expelled from the source world? You know the capabilities of a peak world beast? He asked. Morosa nodded. Peak world beasts are far stronger than I am now. Their techniques are terrifying. Even if the emperors and monarchs of the two great ancient kingdoms can match a world beast using secret treasure weapons, they still can't necessarily stop a world beast from destroying a world. Can't stop it? Luo Feng frowned. They're comparable in strength. World beasts can create many clones, Morosa said. 3 or 5 beings at the same level can't prevent them from destroying the world. Luo Feng considered this. Perfect life forms that mastered the complete great path of destruction, multiplied by clones, were a nightmare. It must be the two nations' forefathers, the East Extremity Domain ancestor, and that one called Di Qing who surpasses God Kings, Morosa mused. Those are the few a peak world beast would fear. But those ancestors won't move recklessly, Luo Feng said. You said the power ceiling of their attacks is a God King ultimate realm upper limit, only their realm is astronomically high. Morosa nodded. As long as they can't destroy all world beast clones instantly, the world beast's counterattack could devastate the two great ancient kingdoms. Morosa was beginning to sense the direction of many peak-level techniques and to understand how terrifying his future self might become. If a peak world beast had no resistance, it would have been suppressed and imprisoned long ago, Luo Feng said. Then he asked, Morosa, how much of that Hunyuan bloodline material would you need to reach the ultimate realm? I haven't hit my own limit in God King's second realm yet, Morosa replied. To reach the ultimate realm, I estimate I'd need another 20 to 30 portions of the same kind of food as before. Hearing that, Luo Feng felt pressure. That meant 2 or 3 complete Hunyuan bloodline creature corpses. Each corpse could yield 3 to 5 portions. The value was grotesquely high. If I slowly absorbed the power of heaven and earth, I could reach the ultimate realm too. It would only take a very long time, Morosa added. Inferior food would work, but I'd need much more of it. No rush, Luo Feng said, waving a hand. He could wait until his own power grew. Master, I have good news, Morosa said. Good news? Luo Feng asked. After reaching God King's second realm, I can fully mobilize the great path of destruction origin within me. Morosa smiled, and at once the boundless, complete great path of destruction manifested in the Star Tower's space. Luo Feng watched, delighted. A complete great path of destruction origin was a rare sight. The two great ancient kingdoms charged 800,000 merit points for an epoch's viewing. Luo Feng had observed the life origin great path for over 200 epochs, and the higher the realm, the more insights one gained. His own merit points in Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom weren't even enough to buy a single epoch. Morosa can manifest the complete great path? Does that mean I can study it indefinitely? Luo Feng was thrilled. As the great path unfolded, Luo Feng first saw a colossal figure with 6 curved horns, sitting cross-legged, each horn subtly representing one direction of the 6 paths of destruction. In the next instant, the image became a dark red, terrifying monster with a gaping maw that seemed to devour everything. Forms shifted and changed as Luo Feng watched. Each path promised a different route to carving one's own path. All those routes ultimately led to the same destination, the complete great path of destruction. Master, I'll keep the great path of destruction origin here with my true body and send a clone out first, Morosa asked. Go ahead. Luo Feng nodded. A simple, honest Morosa clone, permitted by Luo Feng, quietly left the Star Tower to enjoy life outside. Chapter 208, The Monarch's Tour. At the entrance to the Heavenly River Treasureland, an illusory river could be seen, but if anyone actually flew into it, they would find the river to be truly boundless, its depth endless, its currents infinite. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Deep inside the Heavenly River, a flying boat drifted along. On it, a shaggy figure sat cross-legged, calmly absorbing the river's waters to nourish his Hunyuan bloodline. Tian Kun and the others are persistent, still tailing me, the Lord of Yu Water Country said with contempt. but they won't dare to go into the deepest parts of this river. Heavenly Kun Country's lord and his party, 6 powerful beings, had come to search for treasures and cultivate in the Heavenly River. They also blockaded key areas. Lord Yu was patient. He could wait 100 epochs, 1,000. He had no hurry. If he advanced further and drew an ultimate realm's secret art from his Hunyuan bloodline, he believed he could handle all 6 of them alone. But centuries and millions of epochs had passed without progress, and he felt the difficulty of breaking through. Then a sudden message arrived. Brother Yu Shui, Lord Lan Duo of Thunder Ancient Country, has entered the Heavenly River. Flee! Yu Shui's heart lurched. He stowed away his flying boat and dove deeper without hesitation. The further down he went, the more dangers converged, hidden perils and lethal fluctuations. He plunged on, unafraid, until an underwater mountain range loomed ahead. As he neared it, an invisible fluctuation began to ravage his body. His flesh and form started to crumble. Go! He hurled his God King-grade treasure flying boat away. Inside that vessel lay all his gains from the Heavenly River. The boat resisted the mountain range's fluctuations far better than his own body, and eventually landed safely among the peaks. Yu Water Country's lord spun and fled in a different direction. He had only gone a short distance, 10 breaths perhaps, when he felt a terrifying power lock onto him from afar. He looked up. The source of that power was a majestic figure in a sky-blue robe. Blue-white scales covering her form, 3 scaled tails fanning behind her, sacred and cold-eyed. Even across the vast distances of the Heavenly River, Lord Lan Duo's glance could lock onto a target through karmic resonance. A single flick of that gaze summoned boundless might. Yu Shui's body, tough and sustained by the Heavenly River's waters, could not withstand the onslaught. Most of his cultivated vitality was wiped away. In less than a breath, his true body was annihilated. Lord Lan Duo glanced at the flying boat and then continued her sweep. The Heavenly River seemed enormous, but its truly safe spaces were few. She intended to check them all. Monarch. Lord Lan Duo. When the presence of the monarch passed through, many ancient god kings inside the Heavenly River sent respectful messages. Lan Duo spared the 2 ancient imperial god kings and Thunder Ancient Country's guest god king. The rest she killed. Word reached other hiding cultivators. Heavenly Kun Country Lord, who had also been hiding as a guest of Yan Feng, Ancient Country, panicked and dove deeper. But Lan Duo would not let him go. Within a moment she had closed in, an invisible domain sealing him, his fate sealed. He did not even have time to plead. His body was annihilated. During Lord Lan Duo's patrol, the true bodies of more than 90% of the god kings in the Heavenly River, scattered god kings and Yan Feng's guest god kings alike, were destroyed. Only a few survived, either because they had extraordinary escape abilities or because they exploited the river's environment to hide. Lord Yu's party suffered heavy losses. His true body was killed, 4 of Heavenly Kun Country Lord's 5 companions were destroyed, and only 1 managed to barely conceal themselves in Huyang City. Luo Feng received the news and felt stunned. No way. What rotten luck, running into Lord Lan Duo. He hadn't been in the Heavenly River himself, but Yu Shui messaged him. I heard the Heavenly River favors water attribute beings and suppresses others, Luo Feng said. Those 2 ancient imperial god kings and Emperor Xuan, Lord Lan Duo, they all have water attribute Hunyuan bloodlines, right? Yes, Yu Shui replied. They're the ones. They don't enter the Heavenly River often, but when they patrol, they spare only the 2 ancient imperial god kings and their own guest god kings. Everyone else gets killed. Luo Feng nodded. The Heavenly River's environment made hiding especially easy. Like the Dream Domain, it contained countless separate spaces, each its own pocket of reality. In so many isolated spaces, encountering another being was difficult. Even an emperor entering such a space would be limited, still a physical body, much weaker in that realm. Yet every treasure land has its flaws. The Heavenly River's safe zones were limited and could be systematically patrolled. The dangerously deep regions were near impossible to enter. Fortune and misfortune are intertwined, Yu Shui messaged. The Heavenly River is a treasure land with relatively few crises, but the greatest danger is other cultivators. Meeting an emperor or a monarch here is the worst possible luck. Need any help? Luo Feng asked. No, Yu Shui laughed bitterly. Heavenly Kun Country Lord's true body was destroyed this time. He won't dare to provoke me again. Of the 6 enemies I'd been contending with, 5 had their true bodies destroyed. Despite the heavy losses, Yu Shui felt something like balance. Luo Feng sighed inwardly. A single monarch's patrol could sweep away so many. Yanfeng, ancient country, had 13 emperors. Thunder, ancient country, had 9 monarchs. Among scattered cultivators, there were a handful who could challenge emperor-tier beings. Feng Wu, Mother River Master, and a few others. But by and large, the top-tier power of scattered cultivators lagged far behind the ancient imperial lineages. The 2 ancestors at the God King level, the East Extremity Domain Ancestor, were active as well. No wonder most scattered cultivators kept to the shadows or joined one of the 3 alien races. With their guidance, scattered cultivators could actually compete for resources against the 2 ancient imperial powers. Fortunately, the emperors and monarchs mostly fought one another, which left breathing room for the rest. Limitless Space, a separate treasure land, held a vast lake with an isolated island. One of Luo Feng's avatars was cultivating there. As Morosa reached the God King's second realm, he could now fully unleash the complete destruction origin law. Luo Feng's cultivation in that law was entering a phase of explosive growth, and his prior accumulations were transforming into something new. Whoosh! In the center of Luo Feng's palm, a dark mixed hole manifested. It thrummed with tenacity so dense it felt almost tangible. The power inside rotated. Countless condensed dark blade lights flowed within, converging and coalescing. 5 veins merged into one. Mixed hole extinction light. Luo Feng used the dark mixed hole to nurture a wisp of blade light that had the appearance of solid substance. Its power was terrifying, far greater than the strongest moves he had used with the Blood Shadow Blade when Morosa had been only a third of a world beast, and even more formidable now. The mixed hole extinction light is complete. He stared at the blade light in his palm, barely believing it. The God King's second realm's secret art he had just comprehended belonged to the extinction law. It made sense. The mixed hole extinction light had been an embryo Luo Feng had shaped long ago, a fusion of the destruction law's splitting heaven, dark heaven, mixed heaven branches with the extinction law's life source and life spirituality, 5 branches in all. As his realm deepened, those branches merged and perfected. Now, without fully realizing it, Luo Feng had integrated all 5 into a single move. Like the 24-phase form and the return to one's secret art he had created earlier at God King First Realm, moves considered the limit at that level. Mixed hole extinction light was different. It fused 5 branches, and each of those branches contained multiple laws. The life origin law and the destruction origin law each had 6 branches, and even some of Morosa's current techniques were not as profound as Luo Feng's new move. Life, destruction, extinction. 3 laws, Luo Feng murmured, feeling a surge of emotion. Creating a secret art didn't automatically mean breaking through to the next realm. One still had to fully grasp the essence of law. Guishu Emperor and Witch God King had the fortune to create ultimate realm secret arts while still far from completely comprehending the complete law. For Luo Feng to have integrated 5 branches into a single God King's second realm secret art was an extraordinary achievement. As he sat cross-legged on the island grass, a flash of insight struck. This comprehension of an extinction secret art at the God King Second Realm had changed his understanding of the extinction law. An invisible branch of the extinction law was beginning to take shape in his mind. Chapter 209, Treasure Exchange. Luo Feng had been in the infinite space treasure trove for over 200 epochs, steadily accumulating insights into the path of creation and destruction. Over time, he had produced 19 God King First Realm secret techniques along that path. Each technique not a mere product, but a natural outgrowth of his understanding. When he elevated the Hun Dun Immortal Light to the God King Second Realm this time, his accumulation reached a tipping point. Branches of the path of creation and destruction began to sprout in his mind. He poured himself into refining and integrating them. 3 days later, he finally stopped. I've grasped 6 branches of the path of creation and destruction, but they're not complete, he muttered, frowning. My accumulation is still insufficient. I can't see all the branches yet. How many branches does an origin great path have? there was no fixed answer. For example, the Space Origin Great Path had 9 branches. Easy to begin, but harder and harder until you had to integrate all 9 to reach the ultimate realm. Time's Origin Great Path had only 3 major branches. Very hard to get started, but once mastered, its power was terrifying. Luo Feng remembered the perfect inheritance, Time-Space Walker, in the treasure trove that fused time and space into an even more dreadful Great Path, but its cultivation threshold was astronomical. Life and destruction were 2 great paths contained within the supreme rule, and each had 6 major branches. Luo Feng had used them as the foundation for forging his path of creation and destruction, which he intended to have 9 major branches. He had currently realized 6, the remaining 3 were only taking shape. To complete them, he would need far more accumulation. The 6 branches I've comprehended are, he listed them in his mind: Blood Drop Lineage, Scorching Sun Lineage, Nirvana Lineage, Eternity Lineage, Black Smoke Lineage, and Deputy Palace Master Xingje Lineage. He felt a twinge of regret. In fusing creation and destruction, he had to discard many possibilities. Life and destruction each had 6 major branches. When fused, there were countless combinatorial possibilities. The branches of the path of creation and destruction could number 30, 50, or even over 100 depending on how you combine things. Exhausting every possibility was beyond him. He had to choose: abandon completeness for focus, keep what mattered, and determine the 9 branches he would cultivate. Even these 9 branches will be more powerful than any of the original 6 of life or 6 of destruction branches, he thought. The foundation would be unfathomably deep. Luo Feng sat cross-legged on the little island in the middle of the lake. He got to his feet and looked around. I've comprehended the branches, but the infinite space hasn't awarded any reward points yet, he said. He suspected why. The endless space treasure trove could not constantly probe every cultivator's thoughts. It responded when given a clearer demonstration. He pointed casually, thinking of the Deputy Palace Master Xingje lineage. Instantly, countless secret patterned sigils flowed together and formed a dark humanoid figure. Though small, the figure radiated overwhelming destructive power. Every move could obliterate a world. This single branch was already formidable for a God-King First Realm. The figure's shifting patterns embodied the mysteries of the Great Path. The treasure trove perceived it, and information flowed into the imprint on Luo Feng's palm. Trialist, Luo Feng of Origin Continent, you have pioneered a new great path based on the 2 great paths of life and destruction. Evaluation of the new great path, superior. Reward points, 10,000. You have taken the first step on a new great path. Continue your efforts. Chaos Realm Body, achieving God King Ultimate Realm Will. Evaluation of spiritual will, superior. Reward points, 10,000. Your spiritual will is excellent. Maintain it after becoming a God King. Luo Feng expected as much. His master Di Chu had told him how the treasure trove awarded points for pioneering branches. He tried again, condensing patterns into another form, a drop of blood. The sigils assembled into a single drop that seemed suffused with life aura, but also immovably heavy. This was the blood drop lineage. But the treasure trove's rules were clear. Only the first branch of a newly pioneered great path earned reward points. Subsequent branches did not. Reward points were hard to come by. First, fighting spiritual creatures in infinite space was time-consuming. Second, the prime regions were occupied by major forces, leaving only remote places. How many points could one gather alone from those pockets? Thus, the fastest routes to substantial reward points were pioneering a great path and spiritual will recognition. Pioneering a single new great path branch could be harder than reaching the God King's second realm. Luo Feng's accumulation in life and destruction had allowed him to advance quickly with study. The path of creation and destruction was a choice he'd made long ago in the primordial universe. Yet even so, forging one branch was difficult, hence how scarce reward points were. Many ancient god kings regarded the infinite space's value as lower than other treasure lands, and in some respects that was true. Though Luo Feng was talented, he had only a little over 20,000 reward points so far. When converted into the meritorious deeds used by guest elders of the 2 great ancient kingdoms, that was only a few 100 million meritorious deeds. Some ancient god kings had obtained even fewer points. The real value of the infinite space lay in the inheritances and treasures it held, special grade and even perfect inheritances that could rarely be found elsewhere. In cultivation, inheritances mattered more than treasures. With limited points, it made sense to spend them where they mattered. Luo Feng checked the treasure trove's listings. The trove's resources were divided into inheritances and treasures. He had never purchased treasures before. First, he looked at inheritances. The God King's Second Realm chapters of World Life Form and Chaotic Whole Beast Body each required 3,000 reward points, 6,000 points in total, so he resolved to reserve those. Then he looked at the treasures, which could be teleported directly to his true body on the origin continent. The top-ranked item, the Heart Intent spaceship, cost 20,000 reward points. It was a Beyond God King-level spacecraft, stable, indestructible within the source world, and capable of instant travel across the source world. Luo Feng felt tempted but shook his head. An item that powerful would be worrying to use. The second-ranked treasure was the Great Path Map, also 20,000 points. It could deduce secret techniques suited to the user or analyze the Great Path to assist cultivation, dramatically improving comprehension speed, particularly for weaker cultivators. It could relatively easily guide one to the God King Second Realm peak. A warning: to master a complete Great Path still required one's own comprehension. Over-reliance on the map in early stages would make truly understanding a complete Great Path much harder later. If used only to deduce suitable secret techniques, the map posed no long-term problems. The ninth-ranked treasure was a Lotus Heart Seed for 18,000 points. It could grow a life lotus in the internal universe, stabilizing the internal cosmos, infusing the body with endless vitality, and enormously enhancing physical strength. For someone cultivating the world life form, this would create exceptional compatibility with the life origin Great Path and greatly accelerate cultivation. Luo Feng's eyes lit up at the Lotus Heart Seed. Strengthening his world life form would push his power higher. More importantly, the seed could make him a favored child of the Great Tao of Life. The only problem was the price. Another listed treasure was the Destruction Scale, priced at 12,000 points. Integrating a destruction scale into one's body could transform it into that of the Destruction Demon race, creating outstanding compatibility with the Destruction Origin Great Path and drastically improving cultivation efficiency. But there were warnings. Integrating the destruction scale generated killing intent impact. Spiritual will had to reach the God King Ultimate Realm to successfully integrate it. It was recommended that only those with avatars make the exchange. If only a true body existed, transforming into a destruction demon race could interfere with cultivating other great paths. Become a favored child of the destruction origin Great Path? He considered. He had an avatar, and his spiritual will met the criteria. Of the treasures he'd examined, the Lotus Heart Seed and the Destruction Scale tempted him most. Both would boost his cultivation of life and destruction. The seed was safer but expensive. The scale was cheaper and risky. Let me taste what it's like to be favored by the Destruction Great Tao, Luo Feng decided. He reviewed the Destruction Scale's information one last time, then stopped hesitating. Exchange. Chapter 210, Memory Inside a Chamber Within the Star Tower. Luo Feng held a warm, damp scale in his palm. Its value is comparable to a Beyond God King-level secret treasure, he muttered. In the Infinite Space Treasure Trove, the cheapest Beyond God King-level secret treasure cost 12,500 points, almost the same as this destruction scale. He didn't use it right away. He examined it carefully. The scale was mainly black, its edges fading to translucent with a green tinge. Magnified 1 billion times, profound sigils could be seen carved into its surface. Those innumerable secret patterns sealed the scale's aura completely. When Luo Feng's consciousness reached out to touch it, an overwhelming killing intent slammed into his soul. One continuous, savage command: kill, kill, kill. Only a will at the God King Ultimate Realm could remain clear under such an onslaught. One single scale, already refined, and it still contains such murderous will. Luo Feng thought, stunned. How powerful must the life form that produced this be? And whoever refined these scales, what a terrifying strength. The scale, along with the fragmentary information from the special grade inheritance, gave Luo Feng fleeting glimpses of a higher world. Yuan had left many treasure grounds and immense resources. Clearly, Yuan's status beyond the source world was very high, far above even the ancestors of the two great ancient kingdoms. Luo Feng observed the destruction scale for 3 full days, sketching every discernible pattern before integrating it. His perfect divine body split off a clone that contained 99% of his divine power reserves. The small remainder continued to absorb energy through his small universe and slowly recover. "I'll turn this large clone into the body," he decided. He pressed the black scale to the clone's chest. The scale merged into skin and erupted with its hidden power. A terrifying killing intent swept his soul, but Luo Feng kept calm and watched the transformation proceed. The scale's power eroded the clone's flesh and bones and then rebuilt them. The change was rapid. Despite the clone's enormous energy reserve, in just over 10 breaths, the transformation completed. The destruction scale dissolved, and the original killing intent vanished without a trace. Luo Feng examined the new body. Even the minutest components had changed. Scales similar to the original covered the body, including the face, though these were light blue and far less intense than the original scale. His eyes glowed gold, a tail had formed, and 6 curved horns sprouted from his head, reminiscent of one manifestation of the great path of destruction. In terms of raw strength, the destruction demon race clone was unimpressive. Even with a vast divine body, it would barely reach the God King's second realm and was much weaker than his world lifeform clone. Still, the clone was deeply attuned to the destruction origin great path. When Luo Feng waved a claw, the mysteries of that great path seemed to stir. He felt his body as part of the destruction origin great path and could perceive it through his form, though other great paths remained vague. "I once took a 5-colored treasure medicine," he recalled. "It made both my body and soul compatible with the destruction origin great path for about 3 epochs. The destruction scale only changes the body, not the soul, but its compatibility is stronger than the treasure medicines. Overall, the scale's effect is about 70 to 80% of the 5-colored treasure medicine, and it's permanent. One 5-colored treasure medicine cost 10 million contribution points, a permanent destruction demon race body that preserved 70 to 80% of that effect was extremely valuable." Luo Feng also realized his cultivation of the destruction origin great path would now outpace his life origin great path. Since Morosa manifested a complete great path of destruction, the two paths had advanced at nearly the same rate. Now the destruction path was surging forward. There was also a lotus heart seed in the infinite space treasure trove that favored the life path, but it was far too expensive. Epochs passed. Luo Feng was still young compared to the ancient existences on the origin continent and needed time to accumulate true strength. Deep in the dream domain, in one of its dark, labyrinthine caves, Luo Feng, having taken the form of a large stone, practiced the great destruction heart refining method. The will inheritance left by Yuan, called the Li Yuan art, included that refining method for cultivating will. As Luo Feng's destruction origin great path strengthened, the method's effects intensified. At the center of the endless primordial void, Luo Feng's soul had taken on a hazy, seated figure resembling himself. The soul sat cross-legged, resisting both the invasive attacks of the dream domain and the grinding pressure of the great destruction heart refining method. "It's been over 150 epochs since I entered the dream domain," he thought. "My soul is changing, but my soul will can't break through the bottleneck of the God King ultimate realm." Cultivation here was torturous. Luo Feng pushed himself to the absolute limit, training until he collapsed into the dream domain's sleep, at which point he stopped the refining method and forced himself awake. Over more than 150 epochs, he had succumbed dozens of times. Each awakening, he summarized what he could recall. Most dreams were forgotten. A few hazy fragments remained, often chaotic or contradictory. But some scenes felt far beyond anything in the source world. "The ancestor summons you," a voice said in one dream. In that dream, he had forgotten his identity. He stood immense and powerful, yet waited with reverence, anxious for the ancestor's summons. Joy, wariness, fear. The dream shifted between them as if he had many visits and was always waiting. Then a giant eye appeared. Luo Feng knelt before it, calling, "Ancestor." The ancestor's true form was obscured by boundless great paths. Only the enormous eye was visible. It seemed etched into Luo Feng's soul and filled him with a fear so complete he had no desire to resist. The dream trembled. As he tried to stop the great destruction heart-refining method, his soul will fought to break free. The instant he saw the eye, his soul reacted violently. The dream shattered and collapsed. When Luo Feng woke, he found himself trembling. Why is this memory so clear this time? He asked himself. Previously, most dreams were forgotten. The few memories that persisted never had such an effect. But the image of that eye remained, blurry yet full of dread. His soul could not suppress the terror and submission it inspired. He tried to erase it. He dispersed the clone he had been using, annihilated it. In Huyang City, inside the Star Tower, his perfect divine body, the destruction demon race clone, and the world lifeform clone all showed shock and anger. He attempted to root out the memory with the great destruction heart refining method, grinding away the distracting fearful thoughts until his mind felt clearer, more ethereal. That helped, but the memory was still rooted in his soul. I've heard that cultivating the Hunyuan bloodline leaves a residual will that pollutes one's soul, Luo Feng reflected. Even a reincarnation like the Emperor Consort might escape will pollution, but memory pollution remains. Memory pollution is less severe than will pollution, but it can't be easily eradicated. It can only be controlled. Now Luo Feng carried that burden of memory pollution as well. He steadied himself and returned to refining, forcing his soul to adapt, even as the image of the ancestor's eye remained, lodged deep and unerasable. Chapter 211, The Secret Method of the Second Realm of the Way of Life and Death. Inside the Lord's Mansion in Huyang City, Luo Feng sat alone in the pavilion, drinking, his brow tightly furrowed. He looked troubled. Qing Yan, that silly boy, has finally grasped another Chaos Realm secret technique. His accumulation is getting thicker, Morosa said as he walked through the mansion in a good mood. No matter what, Moyu Qingyan was drawing closer to the Chaos Realm. Even though Dao River Sect's second disciple, Xinyu, was more talented, no disciple could compare to his own. Morosa looked up and saw Luo Feng in the distant pavilion. Strange, he muttered. Master doesn't seem right. He hurried to the pavilion and, pausing on the corridor at the bottom of the stairs, said cautiously, Master. Luo Feng glanced at him. Something wrong? Master, are you troubled? Morosa watched his expression. Can I help? Morosa believed he had reached the God King's second realm, far surpassing his master. Perhaps he could solve his master's problems. You can't help, Luo Feng said, shaking his head. Master, tell me, what's the matter? Morosa pressed. Luo Feng smiled faintly. I encountered a great terror. An uncontrollable fear has taken root in my heart. It's seriously affecting my cultivation. Do you know any way to stop me from feeling fear? Unleashing the great destruction heart-refining method would crush all distracting thoughts and restore a pure, clear mind, but it diverted too much mental energy. It slowed Luo Feng's thought processes and reduced the efficiency of comprehension and cultivation to less than half of his normal pace. He couldn't afford to keep bearing that negative influence for long. He was trying to find another way. Encountered a great terror? Fear growing? Morosa was puzzled. What on this origin continent could make Master afraid? Does it threaten Master's life? Or the clan? He asked, afraid his master had met some terrifying enemy. There's no danger of death, Luo Feng said. It only affects my cultivation. If you won't die, why be afraid? Morosa said. Luo Feng shook his head. I can't control my inner self, so fear naturally arises. Then control your inner self, Morosa said, baffled. Control it? Luo Feng was slightly stunned. As a God King, he possessed the God King ultimate realm will. But facing that giant eye from his memory, the instinctive fear of life surged up, an ancient animal terror. All fear originates from the heart, Luo Feng said. Control the heart, and you can control instincts. He vanished in a flash, leaving Morosa in the pavilion, puzzled. What terrifying thing did Master encounter? Morosa wondered. In a chamber on the first floor of the Star Tower, Luo Feng sat cross-legged. He stopped using the Great Destruction heart-refining method. The giant eye in his memory seemed to stare at him through endless time and space, looking down on him. Fear returned to his heart. His soul trembled. Fear, submission, dread. Steady. It's just a memory from a dream. It can't threaten me. Don't be afraid. Face it, he kept telling himself. Knowing something intellectually was one thing. Extinguishing the instinct of life was another. Fear kept growing and spreading. The terror that the giant eye carried deepened in Luo Feng's heart. Face it. It's just a memory. He forced himself to confront it. Time passed. Fear seeped in deeper and deeper. At first, Luo Feng had to use the Great Destruction heart-refining method every 3 to 5 days to wipe his thoughts clean and restore balance. Gradually, those intervals stretched to tens, then hundreds, then thousands of days. The more he observed, the more he adapted to the terror, and his mental control strengthened. This practice continued for more than half an epoch. The terror of facing it weakened. Even without the Great Destruction heart-refining method, he could face the giant eye for long stretches. The god kings who cultivated the Hunyuan bloodline had similarly battled and suppressed their bloodline wills. It was a kind of tempering, like Yuntian God King forging his God King ultimate realm will. During that half-epoch, Luo Feng's mind changed. Is that giant eye the sign of a real, terrifying existence? Or is it simply an illusion in a dream? He wondered. Though he had only seen it in a dream, it was the most terrifying thing he had ever encountered. An idea came. He could try to make a secret technique inspired by that terror. Over the years, he had comprehended all 9 branches of the path of creation and destruction. With those 9 branches, he could attempt to craft a new move. He kept facing the eye, ignoring the lingering apprehension, and began designing the secret technique. The 9 branches were the 6 he had initially comprehended: Blood Drop lineage, Scarlet Sun lineage, Nirvanic Annihilation lineage, Eternal lineage, Black Smoke lineage, and the Deputy Palace Master Xingzhe lineage, plus the later comprehended Heavenly Light, Void, and Reincarnation lineages. Each branch drew on mysteries from the 6 branches of life and the 6 of destruction, and each was powerful. That giant eye centers on the Eternal, the Blood Drop, and the Reincarnation branches, Luo Feng surmised after years of study. Then it should be supplemented by Scarlet Sun, Black Smoke, and Void. He planned to fuse 6 major branches. The conception was profound. Creation was harder than he had anticipated. Whenever he stalled, he faced the eye directly, studying why it inspired such terror, seeking deeper inspiration, and refining the technique. Consumed by this work, he turned down invitations from the Reincarnation Little Building and refused to enter Treasure Lands. After more than 10 epochs of study, the eye no longer frightened him. He had seen it too deeply. With the mystery gone, the terror weakened. To regain that edge, Luo Feng activated the 7 emotions heart-refining method, amplifying joy, anger, sorrow, worry, grief, fear, and surprise so even faint feelings sent waves through his mind. The moment he did, the giant eye reawakened the fear. Powerful, raw, like facing it for the first time. His soul trembled. Good, that's the feeling I need, he thought, and plunged back into perfecting the technique. Epoch after epoch passed. After 34 epochs of confronting the eye and refining the method, he finally finished. It's done, Luo Feng shouted inside the Star Tower, exhilarated. Years of relentless research had borne fruit. I finally created this secret technique. It was far more difficult than the Hundun Immortal Light. He grinned. That dream memory wasn't a curse, it was a blessing. Even under the 7 emotions heart-refining method, the eye no longer scared him. He had explored it too thoroughly. If that image were real, I can only imagine how terrifying it would be, he thought. This secret technique is, strictly speaking, a path of creation and destruction, second realm secret technique, he declared. Previously, the Hundun Immortal Light had fused 2 life branches and 3 destruction branches, 5 branches in all. This new move fused 6 of the 9 branches, so it qualified as a true second realm technique. Although untested, Luo Feng judged its power easily surpassed the Hundun Immortal Light. It took me over 200 epochs since becoming a God King to reach this point, and with the help of that dream memory, I managed to create this technique in just over 30 epochs, he reflected. He wondered whether fusing 6 branches could rival an ultimate realm secret technique. Guishu Emperor, Wuxin God King, and others had combined all their branches into a qualitatively different whole that reached the ultimate realm. Let's try. The technique could be channeled through the body or any weapon. A saber became a terrifying saber technique, a great axe, a devastating axe, a hammer, a destructive hammer. Luo Feng extended his right hand. It darkened instantly, as if it were the world's core, untouched even if the world shattered. An endless sense of terror emanated as his 5 fingers struck out. Rumble. The 5 fingers flared with blinding light and force, tearing everything apart. The invisible membrane of the source world shattered, ripped open into a chasm roughly 1 jang long. Outside the membrane, rolling black air poured into the rift. This move shall be called the Great Extinction Style, Luo Feng said, satisfied with the result. Chapter 212, Spiritual Transformation, Part 1. This dream memory can no longer produce even a trace of fear. Luo Feng studied the giant eye in the memory with care. He felt a twinge of regret. This was only a dream memory, not perfectly clear. I've been a god king for over 200 epochs, spending almost all of that time in the dream domain, performing great destruction heart refining. After dedicating himself fully to perfecting the great destruction heart refining method, a faint fatigue had crept into Luo Feng's heart. While maintaining the 7 emotions heart refining method, his inner feelings fluctuated wildly. Even his soul carried a slight weariness. Time to relax my body and mind, he thought. I originally chose 2 heart-refining methods, the Great Destruction heart-refining method and the 7 emotions heart-refining method. Now I'll take a break with the 7 emotions method. With that, Luo Feng acted. A black-clothed clone of himself left Huyang City and first headed toward Shi country. I've always wanted to completely eliminate the 3 country lords of Shi country to avenge my master, but I don't really know Shi country well, he reflected. The clone walked at an unhurried pace, relying on intelligence and observation to learn about the origin continent firsthand. Throughout the journey, he maintained the 7 emotions heart refining method. The heavenly Kun country lord of Shi country had a terrible reputation, invading neighbors and slaughtering wantonly, yet the large cities of Shi country were still prosperous. Luo Feng toured city after city, listening to and watching musical illusions, enjoying food, dance, and music. Under the 7 emotions heart refining method, pleasures were magnified hundreds or even thousands of times. Good. When he ate something delightful, Luo Feng was lavish with rewards, casually tossing out hundreds of cosmic sand and making shop owners ecstatic. When he ate something awful, the pain was magnified just as greatly. He would rage, grab the head chef, and sometimes smash the shop when told that the expensive dish had been left to an indifferent apprentice. I came to listen to music, and you're shouting beside me? He once kicked an eternal true god out of an entire city, and instantly every guest fell silent like chickens. The musician's heart trembled, and she played with even more seriousness. Touring the land, Luo Feng felt unusually relaxed. Under the 7 emotions method, his behavior was less restrained than usual, laughing, scolding, and acting on whims. One day he came to Feng Shui Tower, drawn by its reputation. I heard the Feng Shui Tower Lord's musical illusions rank among the top 10 in Shi country. Luo Feng sat back and produced a treasured bottle of wine. He hadn't expected fine wine in a music hall. These were bottles he had found in various eateries, inexpensive, but each with its own character. He took a delicious sip and grew slightly tipsy just as the performance began. The Feng Shui Tower Lord took the stage. She had snow-white wings, soft white fur on her face, and gentle eyes. In her hands, she held a flute-like instrument and played with a tenderness that seemed to permeate the soul. All the cultivators present were enthralled. Even with his soul will and the 7 emotions heart-refining method, Luo Feng found it difficult to fall wholly into an illusion, but music that resonated with the soul was a different matter. Even without fully entering an illusion, the pleasure was profound. Wonderful, wonderful, Luo Feng muttered. Among the musicians I've heard, she's top 3. The Feng Shui Tower Lord performed 12 pieces in succession, each one more soul-penetrating than the last. Luo Feng listened and became completely absorbed. It felt like youth returning, studying, practicing in the martial hall, tasting his parents' cooking, warm memories flooding his mind. When the music ended, he awoke with tears at the corners of his eyes. I actually slipped into an illusion without realizing it? He wondered, surprised. Looking again at the woman with snow-white wings, Luo Feng felt she deserved the highest praise. 12 pieces, each at the Chaos Realm level, integrated perfectly into a single set. She's not far from reaching Chaos Realm. He sensed her soul will was exceptionally strong. Only a very powerful soul will could be so infectious. Luo Feng had a desire to nurture talent. She was a genius on the verge of Chaos Realm with an unusually strong soul will, a rare find. He began to observe her more carefully. After the performance, the Feng Shui Tower Lord left without speaking. The guests came back from their dreamlike state and murmured and sighed. In one of the tower's corridors, she walked curiously toward a black-clothed man sitting there drinking wine. This is a restricted area of my Feng Shui Tower, not for guests. How did he get here? The formation didn't sense him, she thought, puzzled. Shui Fengyu, the black-clothed man said as he set down his wine pot and regarded her leisurely. A member of the heavenly Snow Maiden tribe, born into the tribe, cultivated to eternal true God by talent. Later, you were controlled by a mysterious force. I'm not wrong, am I? The Feng Shui Tower Lord's expression shifted, and she bowed respectfully. Greetings, Shangzun. May I ask what you command? She couldn't determine the strength of the being before her. I have 10 registered disciples already. Would you be willing to become the 11th? Luo Feng asked on a whim. During his tour of the Origin continent, he had planned to take a few registered disciples if fate allowed. Hearing that, she felt a mix of sorrow and hope. If a powerful being had taken her long ago, she would have been overjoyed, but she was not her own master now. Shangzun, you know I'm not free. How can I become a disciple? She said. Not your own master? Luo Feng's gaze sharpened. Within his world domain, he saw the mark on Shui Fengyu's glabella, and that her true god heart was overlaid with layers of secret patterns, complete control that even prevented suicide. Disperse, he whispered. The heavens and earth seemed to revolve as he released the command. The mark and the secret patterns over her true god heart dissolved and scattered. Now you are free, Luo Feng told her. Shui Fengyu could hardly believe it. The controlling power had dissipated. She was ecstatic and knelt immediately. Disciple Fengyu pays respects to Master. Luo Feng nodded. She began to report at once. Master, the force that controlled me is unfathomable. Luo Feng smiled and glanced skyward. That force has already arrived. High above, a colossal figure tore across the void, bathed in lightning. Its might covered hundreds of millions of kilometers, and, as it appeared, it sealed the surrounding area, isolating inside from out. Which god king dares to break my secret art and steal my divine child? The lightning-clad figure roared. So it's Luo He of the Dao River sect. Luo He, you saw the profundity of my secret art and still dared to act. Shui Fengyu's ears pricked. Luo He? The god king Luo He of the Dao River sect was famous in these territories. Luo Feng looked up and answered coolly, I am Luo He. Then, puzzled, he added, And who are you, hiding your identity and not daring to show your face? My identity is none of a god king First Realm's concern, the majestic voice returned. My divine child, I claim. If you dare stop me, don't blame me for leveling your Dao River sect. A giant cyan hand crackled with lightning. It was larger than a great city and swept in to envelop them. Shock ran through countless cultivators in the city. People in this origin continent love hiding their identities, Luo Feng said, shaking his head. Hiding one's identity in a treasure land was one thing. Hiding even while kidnapping an eternal true god was another level of secrecy. Shui Fengyu watched from the side, terrified. Luo Feng merely waved his hand. Hun Dun, immortal light, nurtured deep within him, bloomed forth, a blade of condensed light. It cut through the giant hand like a razor. Though the hand was tough, it was severed and golden blood dripped. The majestic figure was furious. Impossible, he snarled. The blade light struck again, cleaving the figure's body in two, then pursued and tore him into dozens of pieces. Nothing he had could withstand that blade light. Its profundity and suppressive power far surpassed even the heavenly Kun Country Lord. The blade seemed to cut through everything, and its energy continuously recovered. The majestic figure could only stare in disbelief. Luo He, you've reached God King's second realm? The scattered voice gasped, stunned by the force. But seeing that Luo Feng didn't stop, the figure erupted in a roar and dispersed into countless lightning bolts. Some were instantly annihilated by the blade light, the remainder scattered into the heavens and earth. The wisp of blade light flew back from afar and returned to Luo Feng's palm. Shui Fengyu watched with trembling awe. Her master's methods were indeed terrifying. Luo Feng examined the blade light. It had suffered no loss. With a thought, he drew it back into his inner world. "Come with me to Huyang City. Do you need to prepare anything?" he asked Shui Fengyu. "I must bring my clan," she said. "Good." Luo Feng split his body, creating a clone to escort Shui Fengyu and her tribe to Huyang City, while his main body continued the tour. News spread. "I heard you've become a God King Second Realm?" The Lord of Yu country sent word. "Your news travels fast," Luo Feng replied with a hearty laugh, not denying it. From God King First Realm to Ultimate, the foundations of divine power and soul were the same. The differences lay in the Tao and how it was displayed. Luo Feng could perform God King Second Realm's secret arts and show profound methods, so the world naturally assumed his realm had advanced. Chapter 213, Soul Transformation, Part 2. Impressive, truly impressive. As expected of the strongest God King First Realm in the history of Origin Continent, advancing to the God King Second Realm in barely 200-odd epochs after becoming a God King, the Lord of Yu country exclaimed. "There are many stronger than me on Origin Continent," Luo Feng said with a smile, implicitly admitting he was a God King Second Realm. He had comprehended the Hun Dun Immortal Light and the Great Extinction style, and he would master even more God King Second Realm techniques in time. If he had claimed to still be a God King First Realm after creating such high-level techniques, who would have believed him? Luo Feng had deliberately presented himself as having a lower realm than his techniques to temper expectations. In truth, in terms of accumulation, both the life and destruction paths could let him reach the God King Second Realm quickly if he pursued them deliberately. By acknowledging the Second Realm, his strength would appear more natural. "With your talent, Luo He, you have every hope of reaching the ultimate realm," the Lord of Yu country said. "The ultimate realm is far harder than the God King's Second Realm," Luo Feng replied. On Origin Continent, many had comprehended ultimate realm techniques, emperors and monarchs, even some at the Guishu Emperor level. But in this era, only the Lord of Myriad Worlds and Di Qing had reached the ultimate realm. "Indeed, it's too difficult," the Lord of Yu country sighed. He had not comprehended a single ultimate realm technique himself. Word that Luo Feng had defeated a God King's Second Realm with a single Hun Dun Immortal Light spread fast, and even the battle footage circulated in detail. This Luo He didn't even show his physical strength. He only released a casual blade light and took down an ordinary God King's Second Realm. The heavenly Kun country lord of Shi country thought, watching the footage intently. That blade light isn't a treasure weapon, but a condensed power. It actually has terrifying traits. Nothing it cannot cut, inescapable, eternal energy. The heavenly Kun country lord's realm was high enough to discern the blade light's many terrifying aspects. This blade light has an extremely high realm. I can't even produce something so exquisite. He watched with a complicated heart. Even if I go all out with my Hunyuan bloodline, it might only match his blade light. Is this peerless talent? Though the heavenly Kun country lord was a regional hegemon, he felt powerless facing Luo He. Last time, Luo Feng's techniques had seemed crude, relying on many avatars and a hardy body to entangle enemies. Now, in barely 200-odd epochs, his weakest point, his realm, had already surpassed the heavenly Kun country lords. "I'll have to avoid him more in the future," he thought. Still, he wasn't panicked. Even if Luo Feng's realm rose to master ultimate realm techniques and rival Guishu Emperor or Wu Xin, so what? Even at the Emperor level, no one could guarantee they'd destroy the heavenly Kun country lord in a single strike and prevent him from reincarnating. The heavenly Kun country lord's Hunyuan bloodline granted him tenacious vitality. A figure amid endless flames was Di Yan, the former first emperor of Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom. "Luo He has become a God King Second Realm?" Dion nodded slightly. "His realm has improved a lot, and his use of avatars is refined. He's very useful for Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom. Many difficult, tedious tasks can be handled by him." Among the guest God Kings, Luo Feng was seen as powerful. With numerous avatars, he could do the work of several royal God Kings. The only complication is his master, Di Chu. Dion frowned. He believed that with the deterrent force of the emperors and by offering merits and resources, Luo Feng could be induced to serve obediently. But with Di Chu around, Di Chu would surely guard his disciples' interests. Having shown some strength and caused a stir, Luo Feng wandered at his leisure. Xi country's cities are prosperous, but the wilds beyond are barbaric and cruel, he muttered as he watched a warship fly toward a distant tribe. The tribe had only a few thousand lives. On the warship was an elite team, 10 void true gods and 100 true gods. Their lead void true god cast a secret treasure and produced a huge bag meant to engulf the entire tribe. Not good! Run! The tribe erupted into panic. The team on the warship, however, acted with casual efficiency. They were used to such tasks. From time to time, they had to capture enough living beings to offer up. If they failed to bring back the required numbers, their own lives were forfeit. Move, someone shouted, and in an instant the warship teleported billions of kilometers away. The tribe survived as if by a miracle. The bag and warship that had hovered in the sky had vanished. Quick, leave this place. We've been discovered. Hide deeper among the mountains. Hurry, migrate. They carried only essentials and quietly fled on a flying vessel to a more remote area. Luo Feng had watched the whole migration from a distance. This is Xi country, adept at delicacies but devouring countless living beings, he said, shaking his head. When he had annexed 10 chaos states from Xi country, he'd found the wilderness tribes lived in extremely remote areas. That heavenly Kun country lord intends to devour living beings on a grand scale, Luo Feng thought. It explained Xi country's brutality and expansion. With Xi country's strength, taking third-rate countries could be done by force, and most third-rate states dared not resist. Annexation by negotiation and coercion was common among many second-rate countries, but Xi country preferred slaughter. When annexing a country, they would often completely devour the royal capital and wipe out ordinary citizens. As for wilderness tribes, they were captured and devoured en masse. The heavenly Kun country lord protected the large city's prosperity and kept the tribe's survival sustainable by periodically capturing a portion. Annexation time, however, was their great feast. This is nothing compared to Origin Continent, Luo Feng sighed. Origin Continent had far more monstrous, sinful beings who occupied vast lands and consumed living beings without end, leaving them no chance to rise. Compared to that, the mysterious force that had once enslaved Shui Feng Yu had enslaved only a tiny number of geniuses. In terms of sin, it hardly compared. Luo Feng traveled widely through various second-rate countries, many third-rate countries, Tianmu country, Myriad Worlds country, surrounding small nations, a detour through Thunder Ancient country, and finally to the Heavenly Extremes ice plains from Thunder Ancient country's border. Except for the farthest east extremity domain, Luo Feng had been across Origin Continent. Along the way, he took on several registered disciples. Whoosh, wind and snow howled. The deeper he went into the Heavenly Extremes ice plains, the colder it became. In most wild areas, ordinary tribes couldn't survive. So many beings built cities. Luo Feng walked alone through the snow. Luo Feng's ears twitched at the sound of a melodious tune. His eyes brightened. Having traveled most of Origin Continent, he'd heard many tunes. Fewer and fewer could move him. But this one did. In the distance, a lonely city lay under ice. On its wall, a figure held a leaf and played a solo. The music spread and filled the city. The lonely melody warmed the heart. Luo Feng saw memories of days with his wife Xu Xin at school, scenes of playing with his sons Luo Ping and Luo Hai. He immersed himself in beautiful recollections. "Anfengya, are you done playing? If so, I'll make my move," came a voice. An elite legion stood not far from the city wall. The white-clothed youth on the wall smiled. "General Xie Yun, thank you for letting me finish this new tune." "Anfengya, I'm only doing my duty. Don't blame me," the general said. "Will you surrender, or shall I attack? Please." The white-clothed youth smiled faintly. The elite legion suddenly transformed into a black, monstrous beast. The massive creature charged the white-clothed youth. He flipped his hand and took out an oval instrument, playing. The notes became various illusions guiding the beast. But the black, monstrous beast, fueled by unified spiritual power, was unfazed. "My strength is insufficient," the white-clothed youth sighed as the beast's huge claw descended. "Little fellow, the tune is beautiful," a voice said. The white-clothed youth looked and saw a black-clothed man sitting on the wall, holding a wine pot, drinking and smiling. The surrounding world quieted. The massive black beast froze in midair. And Fengya greets Shangzun, venerable. The white-clothed youth saluted immediately. Shangzun nodded. Luo Feng reached out and connected with the Yanfeng Guild with a thought, pulling up detailed information about An Fengya. He learned, and Fengya loved music and wandered city to city. When he had seen hundreds of millions about to be devoured in a small city, he had acted, wounding Juye God King's son and saving the citizens. The pursuing army was indeed under Juye God King's command. You clearly knew he was Juye God King's son. Why act anyway? Luo Feng asked. My one life for hundreds of millions of lives. How could I not act? And Fengya smiled. After I interfered, those hundreds of millions scattered and fled. I believe most will survive. You'd trade your life for strangers? Luo Feng was surprised. He admitted he couldn't do that. He would sacrifice for his hometown and his people, but not for strangers. They are all essences gathered between heaven and earth, the most brilliant lives, and Fengya replied, smiling with infectious warmth. Luo Feng felt the words came from the heart. Perhaps it was that love of all living things that birthed such a tune. I currently have 19 registered disciples. Will you be the 20th? Luo Feng asked. Many of his disciples had skills in music or cooking. An Fengya suited both his tastes, and Fengya was stunned. Shangzun Venerable, I offended the son of Juye God King. From today on, there will be no Juye God King on Origin Continent, Luo Feng smiled. An ordinary God King First Realm who ran amok everywhere. If he had enmity with one of his disciples, so be it. He could resolve it as he went. And Fengya immediately knelt. Disciple and Fengya greets master. Luo Feng laughed, satisfied. At the same moment, one of his avatars had already crossed the void and located that Juye God King. Chapter 214, Soul Transformation, Part 2. Inside a majestic palace, in a silent chamber, Juye God King revealed his true form, a massive flying beast. Dark, inky mist rose from his feathers, his head stained a hint of blood red, and a pair of cold eyes hung in that strange half-open, half-closed stare. He had been born in a primordial universe and arrived on the Origin Continent through the cycle of reincarnation. In that primordial realm, he had been a special life form, a ferocious, nightmarish predator who loved to devour living beings. He annihilated race after race until he became the most terrifying presence in the surrounding territories. Only when he passed through the reincarnation cycle did the newly born creatures in that region get a brief respite. On the Origin Continent, his strength only continued to grow. He later took control of his home primordial universe, and his divine avatars roamed freely, devouring whatever they pleased. On the Origin Continent, I'm still not strong enough. I must endure, thought Juye God King, born with a taste for consumption. He could only whet his appetite inside his own territory. The children he had raised on the Origin Continent inherited extraordinary bloodlines. Most of them were powerful and shared his habit of devouring living beings. When will I truly be invincible here? Then I can make the whole Origin Continent my hunting ground. His cold eyes shone with eager anticipation. That will be true joy, true freedom. Suddenly, an invisible attack descended. Juye God King vanished as if erased, gone in an instant. His weapons, secret treasures, and other possessions fell to the floor, untouched. Luo Feng, garbed in black, appeared in the quiet room. Too weak, he murmured, shaking his head. My great extinction style had only just begun to pierce him, and he was already gone. The great extinction style was born from the fusion of the 6 branches of the creation and destruction great path. It carried a curse-like killing property that could affect all of an opponent's avatars. Juye God King had no surviving avatars in that instant. His resurrection vessel, whether a drop of blood or a feather, had far less resistance than an avatar. Under the great extinction style, it was annihilated instantly. He had died too quickly to have time for any reincarnation art. You are the first God King to fall to the great extinction style. Luo Feng was pleased. The move, crafted over 30 epochs and shaped by dream memory, had proven worthy. With a thought, a wisp of black smoke raced across the distance and descended upon Juye God King's 7 children. Aside from one daughter who rejected the appetite for devouring and became a disciple of another God King, The other 7 shared their father's habit. With Juye's death, the primordial universe he controlled was freed. Outside that primordial universe, the connected small universe, vast but slightly smaller, began to collapse. Holy Land collapsing? Ancestor dead? Impossible. How could Ancestor die? Some of Juye God King's descendants in the small universe panicked. But elsewhere, powerhouses in the primordial universe and many small universes erupted in cheers. Generations had lived under Juye's shadow. His primordial universe had been his dominion, and many races had been his prey, chosen and devoured without resistance. At last, he had perished, and they were liberated. The death of Juye God King drew attention from some forces on the Origin continent, but most dismissed it. Ordinary God King First Realm figures died often. Even when annihilated, they usually had time to reincarnate. Seeking refuge through reincarnation was common. Even if Luo Feng had not yet comprehended the Great Extinction style, he could not have guaranteed Juye's permanent eradication before. The Hundun Immortal Light couldn't instantly destroy the Resurrection Vessel, and even a combination of God King Ultimate Realm will with the Liyuan art offered no certainty. After all, Juye had come from a primordial universe, not a man-made God King from elsewhere. After sending his disciple An Fengye back to Huyang City, Luo Feng continued to travel the Origin continent. He traversed the heavenly extremes ice plains, where the deeper one went, the harsher and colder the environment became. Then, unexpectedly, he stepped into a warm, comfortable expanse where wind and snow were absent. Vegetation grew luxuriantly, and many tribes lived in the wilderness. The comfortable climate supported a much larger population of cultivators. This is Fire Ancestor World. Fire Ancestor resided permanently in Fire Ancestor City, ruling a vast territory that, because of his existence, was warm and inhabitable. This region occupied less than 1/10 of the heavenly extremes ice plains, yet contained more than half of its living beings. There are 5 loose cultivators at God King's second realm with Emperor-level strength. Among them, Empress Feng Du and Fire Ancestor are very transcendent. Their transcendence came from one thing: they did not contend. Fire Ancestor lived in that remote, frigid region without joining any force and seldom appeared in treasure lands. His strength was immense. The 2 great ancient kingdoms appreciated powerhouses like him. He doesn't fight, but he has protected more than half of the living beings in the heavenly extremes ice plains. As Luo Feng walked, he saw the prosperity of Fire Ancestor World. Countless beings revered Fire Ancestor. From a distance, he caught a glimpse of Fire Ancestor City. Like a warm source, it radiated an invisible supreme rule that shaped the surrounding lands. Though he doesn't contend, he protects as much as he can. Luo Feng felt respect. He admired very few on the Origin continent. Fire Ancestor was one of them. As he moved on, a simply dressed, red-haired figure inside Fire Ancestor City looked at Luo Feng and smiled. "Luo Hei?" the figure said, then added, "The Origin continent is about to produce another formidable existence." Fire Ancestor could sense anyone who entered his world. He closed his eyes, his mind becoming one with the countless flames in his territory, flames used for cooking, refining pills, and forging relics. His consciousness fused with them all. Luo Feng eventually arrived at the East Extremity Domain, a most remote and desolate part of the Origin continent. The East Extremity Domain ancestor protects this place, and Empress Feng Du also originated here. The power of heaven and earth thinned. Natural treasures were scarce, yet the environment was comfortable and fruits abounded. Indigenous creatures here were robust and large. They rarely used sophisticated weapons. Stone clubs and wooden maces were common, and their diet was simple. They worshipped heaven and earth, and many were attuned to its laws. When they fought fiercely and cruelly. Indigenous creatures don't care about externals, they pursue the internal, Luo Feng observed. Their path was inward. Discard externals, focus on oneself, and concentrate on the great path. From such a path had arisen many God-King-level existences, even Empress Feng Du. Who could say such a way was wrong? Luo Feng walked to the edge of the continent and looked out over the limitless universe sea. Chaotic currents surged, dark and boundless, without end. Whether it's the primordial universes or the Origin continent, this world is full of tension, he thought as he sat cross-legged at the edge, staring into the universe sea. Many ancient god kings treat living beings as cultivation resources. Each of them has extremely high wisdom and has glimpsed deep parts of how the Great Path operates. But they don't care for the joys and sorrows of ordinary living beings. What matters to them is their strength, whether they can reach the ultimate realm, whether they can transcend the source world. Those ancient existences planned and schemed meticulously, one by one. Perhaps this is also part of the world's supreme operating rules. Luo Feng reflected that the world's operation was woven from many threads, the 9 complete great paths, the law of the jungle, emotions, order, destructive cleansing, hope. The law of the jungle drove competition, emotions shaped living beings' responses, all aspects intertwined to keep the world functioning. All things have their own great path and their own destiny. However, I have my own great path. A cultivator is one who, by his own strength, triumphs over heaven and earth. Luo Feng's resolve hardened. Using my own great path to surpass the great path of heaven and earth, to completely transcend the source world. Then I can decide how all things operate, order, destiny, they will be my will. He understood that those who merely follow heaven's will were mediocre. The goal was to overcome heaven and earth by one's own power. That was the cultivator's pursuit and the expectation of the supreme rule that created countless beings, to have its creations surpass it. In that moment, Luo Feng's soul underwent another transformation. 200-odd epochs as a god king had built him a strong spiritual foundation. Years of cultivation in the dream domain and the infinite space, the aid of treasures like the 5-colored treasure medicine and the destruction scale, directly confronting the dream memory creation of the great extinction style, and walking the origin continent while tempering his heart with the 7 emotions refining heart. All these gradual changes finally produced a qualitative leap. Power can overcome heaven. Luo Feng's spiritual will condensed into a clear human form with a face identical to his own. That spectral figure enveloped him. His terrifying will solidified and swept the surroundings with overwhelming might. A spiritual body? The will was now so strong it could detach from the physical body and form an illusory, independent body. I feel this spiritual body is even stronger than my physical body. A beyond God King level spiritual will was immensely powerful. Every God King level will would be suppressed or even destroyed in its presence. The breakthrough from God King level will to a beyond God King level will was the most difficult bottleneck on the path of spiritual will, a barrier that had trapped many God Kings. Only a handful in the origin continent could achieve it. Now, Luo Feng had joined that handful. Chapter 215, Infinite Space Reviews. On the origin continent, inside the infinite space treasure trove, on an ordinary island in the middle of a lake, Luo Feng sat cross-legged. His terrifying soul was pushed out a little, twisting the surrounding space subtly. You. A message immediately appeared in the palm imprint. Trialist, Luo Feng of the origin continent. You have created a new great path based on the life and destruction great path. Evaluation of the new great path, upper grade. Reward points, 10,000 points. You have finally taken the first step on your new great path. You still need to work hard. Before mastering a complete great path, your soul will has successfully broken through to the God King level. Evaluation of soul will, special grade. Reward points, 100,000 points. Your soul will is exceptionally outstanding. Perhaps you can go even further. Reminder, it is forbidden to kill any soul creatures. Violators will be permanently expelled from the infinite space treasure trove. Total reward points, 110,000 points. Luo Feng stared at the message, and a grin spread across his face. He was rich. Finally rich. The infinite space treasure trove's treasury was more attractive than most other treasure lands. Its only drawback was how hard reward points were to get. Even so, 110,000 points felt abundant. An extra reminder? Luo Feng muttered, noticing the prohibition. Forbidden to kill any soul creatures? He understood why that rule existed. Every cultivator who entered the infinite space treasure trove got an ordinary God Lord level body. Once a soul will broke through to God King level, inside the treasure trove, they were practically invincible and could massacre soul creatures at will. If the rule didn't exist, few soul creatures would survive. Still, his clone remained here. Inheritances and resources in the treasure trove were far richer than those in the two great ancient kingdoms. That was probably why Di Qing had stayed. Luo Feng checked his information and guessed. Dai Qing and Lord of Myriad Worlds had soul wills that exceeded God King only after reaching a higher realm. Their evaluations, and thus their reward points, would be lower. That explained why they didn't linger. With a special grade evaluation for the soul will, there should be only Di Qing and me on the entire origin continent, he thought. To get special grade for creating a new great path, the threshold must be very high. That explains how precious reward points are. Luo Feng began to browse the treasure trove's offerings. With over 100,000 points, more entries appeared. He scanned the list and froze at the 7th-ranked inheritance. 7th-ranked inheritance, 8 tribulation lifeform, 6th, 7th, and 8th tribulations. Requires 100,000 rub points to exchange, allows cultivation up to a half-primordial origin lifeform. Reminder, the conceived 9th tribulation of this inheritance has the potential to be realized. Once completed, one can break free from the cage. So high? Luo Feng was stunned. The first 5 tribulations of the 8 tribulation lifeform totaled only a little over 10,000 points and covered the God Lord stages. But from God Lord level to half-primordial origin lifeform cost such an enormous price. Senior Yuan had collected this inheritance and believed that completing the 9th tribulation might offer a chance to escape the cage. Luo Feng's interest in it spiked. He only had a little over 100,000 points, though, so he couldn't afford to buy it yet. His immediate goal was to reach the ultimate realm. Going beyond God King levels still lay far ahead. From what he'd seen in the special grade inheritances, the foundation needed for each stage of a God Lord was extraordinarily solid. Reward points had to be used wisely. He scanned more. World Lifeform, 3rd chapter, special grade inheritance, requires 60,000 points. God Lord Ultimate Realm chapter. Chaotic Whole Beast Body, 3rd chapter, special grade inheritance, requires 60,000 points. God King Ultimate Realm chapter. Special grade inheritances could only be exchanged up to the God Lord Ultimate Realm chapter. Perfect grade inheritances, even for the God Lord 2nd Realm chapter, cost 10,000 points. For Ultimate Realm chapters, the price was often beyond his current view. Luo Feng moved on to treasures. He wasn't in a hurry to spend all his points on inheritances. Treasures could be bought at any time, but points were limited and must be used to the greatest effect. Common beyond God King level weapons and secret treasures usually cost between 12,500 and 50,000 points, the most expensive ones around 50,000. Many of the higher-tier treasures specialized in resisting soul will. One 50,000-point secret treasure he read about could weaken all attacks below half-primordial origin lifeform by 90%. Soul will, soul attacks, karmic attacks, and other forms included. Luo Feng's jaw tightened. Who had refined such treasures? With so many attractive items, he felt dizzy. He wanted them all, but he had to be practical. Comprehending the Great Path is the foundation, he reminded himself. He'd already exchanged for the destruction scale in the past. The cheapest treasure compatible with the life origin Great Path now was the Lotus Heart Seed, priced at 18,000 points. I'll get that first. Luo Feng didn't hesitate. He exchanged for the Lotus Heart Seed. His points dropped to 92,000. He'd save the rest for inheritances and more carefully chosen treasures later. His soul will had just broken through, and his life and destruction great paths were on the verge of the God Lord's 2nd realm. He aimed to stabilize his strength and then pick treasures that suited his capabilities. In Huyang City, inside a quiet room of the City Lord's mansion, within the Star Tower, Luo Feng held the colorful seed and felt very pleased. Senior Yuan left the infinite space treasure trove on the origin continent. The more outstanding the cultivator, the greater the benefits they receive, he thought, in a good mood. With the Lotus Heart Seed and the Destruction Scale, his compatibility with both the life and destruction great paths would be excellent. Many great figures, Guishu Emperor, Mother River Master, Earth God King, and others, had also received treasures from Senior Yuan, some even beyond God King level because of their exceptional merit, but the results had been tragic in those cases. Luo Feng's mind stirred as he looked at the star tower. What is the value of my star tower in the treasure trove? His soul began to probe the star tower. This was the first time he'd examined it so carefully after his soul's breakthrough. His will pierced the tower with surprising ease. Endless, profound secret patterns unfurled in his consciousness. These patterns, Luo Feng was puzzled. The profundity of the secret patterns inside the star tower had increased dramatically, far surpassing a complete origin great path. He could not comprehend them. The patterns spiraled deeper and deeper, and his soul followed, delving ever further. The deeper he went, the more vast and complex the patterns grew. This is the hidden side of the star tower, he thought, as his soul continued to probe and glimpsed ever more elaborate designs. When it reached an extremely deep layer, time suddenly froze. Strange, Luo Feng realized that all his other clones had been put into temporal stasis. He alone continued to probe. The secret patterns, though incomprehensible, glowed with beauty, predominantly crimson, but edged with black, cyan, emerald green, purple, and other colors. Boom! He didn't know how long he had been penetrating, but finally his soul saw it, an existence hidden in the deepest part of the star tower. A scale. Luo Feng watched with curiosity. A single scale lay hidden deep inside the star tower, blood red, but its edges shimmered with a full 12 colors. This scale within the star tower was like a supreme rule in a source world, influencing everything around it. It wasn't a physical living thing, Luo Feng, as master of the star tower, felt instinctively. This scale was the star tower itself. The tower and the scale were one. What he had glimpsed was only the external manifestation of the tower's profound underlying rule. Fangchi wrote this chapter on the high-speed rail. For the next week, Fangchi will be attending a closed-door meeting, so update times may be irregular. Thanks to Luo City Lord of Los Angeles and Qi Jingzi for becoming new Alliance Masters, and thanks to Alliance Master Old K for multiple rewards. Thank you all. Chapter 216, The Truth of the Star Tower. Luo Feng's spiritual will swept over the scarlet scales. Their edges shimmered with a dry, iridescent sheen, and an oppressive force radiated from them so intense that even his spirit felt crushed. These scarlet scales are far more terrifying than the giant eye from my dream memory, he thought. If a god-king ultimate realm confronted them directly, it might shatter. He compared the impressions in his mind. The giant eye had been only an image from a dream. If it actually existed, it was hard to say whether the eye or these scales would be worse. He realized why he had been unable to peer into the star tower's deeper layers before, a protective measure. Only when his spiritual will reached a certain strength could he observe inside. A will beyond the God-King level was merely the threshold for looking in. Luo Feng recalled the emperors and monarchs of the two great ancient kingdoms. Many of them possessed beyond God-King level secret treasures. With their ultimate realm life forms and powerful relics, they had once rivaled the lord of myriad worlds and world beasts. Some legends even claim their forefathers could refine treasures beyond the god-lord level. Those chosen emperors and monarchs, aside from Di Qing and Di Luo, mostly only have God-King ultimate realm will, Luo Feng judged. Many must divide attention to suppress their Hunyuan bloodline will. Their spiritual will can't wield their treasures the way the Star Tower does. Intelligence from the infinite space treasure trove and other sources had convinced him the Star Tower far surpassed the ordinary beyond God-King treasures on the Origin continent. That knowledge made him cautious. He decided to measure the tower's strength for himself. Luo Feng's divine power probed the vast, enigmatic secret patterns in the Star Tower's deeper layers. He could only recognize a fraction of the shallower patterns. Beyond that, he was a child facing advanced mathematics, unable even to read the symbols. Still, he felt a thrill. The more complex the patterns, the higher the tower's level. From what he could discern, traces of the supreme rule and the 9 origin great paths, life, destruction, karma, time, space, matter, world, immeasurable, and extremity, were all woven into the patterns. Having once merged his heart with the supreme rule and observed the 9 origin great paths, he could at least categorize several strands. But these secret patterns contained far more than 9 paths. They were tightly intertwined, growing ever more unified until they coalesced into that single scarlet scale. He analyzed the shallow patterns quantitatively. Life-type patterns accounted for roughly 34.1%, destruction type about 9.2%, matter type around 7%. He could judge life and destruction fairly accurately. The rest were vague. Life was the core, everything else orbited it. Understanding most of the patterns was the prerequisite for activating them. It was like untangling a knot. You had to know each thread and pull them out in the correct order. Luo Feng had deep accumulation in life and destruction and knowledge of how they combined. He painstakingly studied and activated more of the shallower patterns. Most cultivators focused on one great path, a few cultivated 2 or 3. But this scale contained at least a dozen and showed how to fuse them perfectly. The revelation broadened him. During his research into life-destruction fusion, a profound insight struck. The heaven-splitting branch and dark heaven branch of the destruction origin great path could fuse into a single coherent mystery. That elucidated all possibilities for combining the two branches. Suddenly, the destruction origin path in his mind leaped to a new level. He felt it rise to the God King's second realm. His previous accumulations, and even the destruction demon race clone he had cultivated using the destruction scale, had left him richer in destruction than he'd realized. From this fusion mystery, he could craft many techniques rooted in the heaven-splitting dark heaven combination. They weren't game-changing offensives for him, but they offered utility. One practical outcome emerged. An escape secret art took rough shape in his mind, likely to be perfected after a few hundred days of work. But he did not linger. For nearly half a cycle, he pushed deeper into the Star Tower's patterns until progress slowed. Satisfied with the secret patterns he'd activated, Luo Feng wanted to test the tower's might. He kindled his world power and began to trigger the deeper patterns he had unlocked. The Star Tower, sitting quietly in a room of the Yang City Lord's mansion, trembled faintly. Its power made the world domain he had spread around the mansion shudder. For a moment, Luo Feng felt like he controlled an enormous entity. Its rampage would likely surpass the force of his great extinction style. Such raw might alarmed him. He did not dare unleash it fully. He doubted he could contain it. Even with the spiritual will transformation that now allowed him to sweep many god kings on the origin continent, emperors and monarchs remained another matter. They possessed ultimate realm lifeforms with innate resistance to spiritual will, and their beyond god lord level treasures had their own resistances. Against those ranks, Luo Feng's spiritual will might have only limited effect. It wouldn't reliably kill them. Physically, and in terms of techniques, the gulf was larger still. If the Star Tower is exposed, he thought, and if Di Qing, the East Extremity Domain ancestor, and the two nations' forefathers vie for it, can I survive? Before those figures, his spiritual will might be useless, perhaps even weaker than theirs. He resolved the Star Tower could not be used casually, and he reminded himself that in time, without external aid, his strength would reach another plateau. He wouldn't have long to wait to comprehend the 24-phase form. With Hunyuan bloodline materials, he could cultivate a higher-level world life form. The 10 Directions world form was merely the entry level for a world life form. The 24-phase form truly revealed a world life form's might. Among Hunyuan bloodline beings at God King's second realm, those with the 24-phase form were top tier, even with low intelligence. In his hands, with his intelligence and spiritual will, a 24-phase world life form would be even more fearsome. His spirit could make such a form colossal. Techniques on the origin continent had an upper bound at the God King ultimate realm. This was why figures like Ancestor Yan Feng had difficulty killing the Mother River Master. The stronger he grew, the more of the Star Tower's power he could safely unleash. Luo Feng turned his attention to the colorful lotus heart seed in his palm, a prize he'd exchanged for. The seed, placed inside his inner world, could grow into a life lotus that would deepen his affinity with the life origin great path, stabilize his inner world, and infuse his body with endless vitality, significantly boosting his physical strength. He planted the lotus heart seed in the inner world of his world life form true body. His transformed spiritual will allowed that world life form to expand further. His miniature universe absorbed energy to its maximum and channeled a steady stream of perfect divine power to support growth. The seed sank into the inner world's soil, and in an instant, a green sprout burst through and accelerated upward. The life lotus's growth was astonishing. Anchored to the entire inner world, it pushed upward with terrifying speed. Leaves unfurled, stalks stretched. After 109 days, the life lotus reached the inner world's limit. It gleamed greenish-blue, with 36 enormous lotus leaves, each like a small world, and only the central pistil began to color. The colossal lotus took up 1/10 of the inner world. Its roots permeated every part of the inner world's earth, stabilizing it even more. If Luo Feng released his world domain now, its power would increase dramatically. The life lotus seemed linked directly to the life origin Great Path and pulsed with boundless vitality. Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom, Chu Capital. Under the night sky, Luo Feng, clad in black, drifted lazily over the city. The Great Path of Destruction. After reaching God King's second realm, I can already glimpse the complete Great Path of Destruction. Morosa's usefulness has been greatly reduced. Luo Feng smiled faintly. Mastering a branch of a great path lets one see parts of the whole. Reaching God King's second realm allows a glimpse of the complete great path and the ability to mobilize some of its force. At an ultimate realm, one would have mastered the complete great path outright. When my life great path reaches God King's second realm as well, the primordial universe's help will be negligible. Many once precious advantages were steadily losing importance. The slaying Wu Wings, an eternal true god-level mechanical relic, had helped Luo Feng a great deal when he first came to the origin continent, but as his power grew, they became little more than a keepsake. The primordial universe itself was becoming redundant. Even if Morosa reached ultimate realm, it would offer only limited aid. The Li Yuan art, the deepest will secret technique I've seen, is still immensely useful, and the Star Tower, the more I advance, the more important it becomes. Luo Feng thought it curious. When he had been weak back in the primordial universe, he had once judged items like the Tombstone Boat, Slaying Wu Wings, and Blood Shadow Blade to be more valuable than the Star Tower. That had shown him how, when weak, even obvious treasures can be misunderstood. Even his master Zuo Shanki, who had personally refined the Star Tower, had only treated it as a God King-level secret treasure. He hadn't seen its true nature. Time passed as Luo Feng flew, and he soon arrived at the Emperor Chu Palace. He had come to receive the follow-up inheritances of the 8 Tribulation life form and the secret technique of cutting 72 slashes. He only needed to demonstrate the mysteries of the God King's second realm of the Great Path of Destruction to show he had the required level. A short while later, the God King, full-stage inheritances of the 8 Tribulation life form and the 72 slashes were complete for him. Of course, Luo Feng treated these 2 inheritances mainly as references. Compared with special grade inheritances, they were indeed much simpler, the secret techniques themselves fairly ordinary. Special grade inheritances, theoretically containing the strongest methods for a given stage, had an almost unfathomable difficulty. For example, from the 24-phase form life form, he had only grasped one part, comprehending the essence of the 24-phase form, and had not yet attained true enlightenment. Likewise, the unification secret technique of the chaotic whole beast body was a combat method intended to complement the chaotic whole beast body itself. He had only taken the combat method and applied it to a stronger world life form rather than mastering the beast body outright. For these 2 special grade inheritances, Luo Feng had absorbed only fragments. Having completed the inheritances, he went to pay his respects to his master. The 2 inheritances had saved him about 200 million guest official merits, and he felt obliged to show his gratitude. Luo Feng. When Dichu saw him, a satisfied smile crossed his face. He was proud of this disciple. Dichu had only been a God King for a bit over 200 epochs, and already had a disciple at God King's second realm, an astonishing talent. Master, I've received the subsequent portions of those 2 inheritances, Luo Feng reported. Dichu nodded. When you first became a God King, you were already unmatched in the God King first realm. I knew your talent was terrifying, but reaching God King's second realm so quickly, only a handful in the origin continent's history were faster. Luo Feng knew there were a few who had advanced quicker. His tendency to comprehend high-level techniques at lower realms had honed his comprehension skills. Di Chu continued, "Your cultivation has been very smooth. Some geniuses shine early and then stall at a bottleneck, but you broke through to God King's second realm very cleanly. For you, the next goal is the ultimate realm," Di Chu said with expectation. "The ultimate realm is far more difficult than God King's second realm. You must focus, no carelessness." "This disciple understands," Luo Feng replied. Dai Chu's expression turned serious. "As you grow stronger, more of my conflicts will involve you." "Involve me?" Luo Feng stiffened. He had already suppressed his spiritual will and hidden himself, but his perception remained sharp. Sitting there, Di Chu's invisible pressure was terrifying, far stronger than Guaishu Emperor, even stronger than Mother River Master. Luo Feng had seen Mother River Master and Empress Feng Du use realm and relics to contend with Emperor-level existences, but in pure life form, might they were beneath the Emperors. "With your strength, Master, your opponents are mainly the other Emperors and Monarchs. Few rogue cultivators can match you," Luo Feng observed. "My greatest enemies are the other Emperors of the Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom." Di Chu's eyes cooled. Luo Feng was taken aback. "The Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom and the Thunder Ancient Country are natural enemies. When facing outsiders, the 13 Emperors of Yanfeng unite. But internally, things are different. Exploring treasure lands, competing for opportunities, allocating resources, there's constant conflict. In deep treasure lands, they will even kill other Emperor-level cultivators to seize treasures. They'll wipe out disciples of rival emperors and take everything. On the surface, there are 13 emperors, but among them the animosity is even greater than with outside rogues." Luo Feng listened, alarmed but attentive. He had heard rumors of the emperor's poor relations. They were truer than he'd imagined. "In the future, you must be clear about who is friend and who is foe," Di Chu said. "Among the 13, Di Qing is the most transcendent. His rallying power is the strongest. Next is Yan Feng. You must be wary of him." Di Chu explained. Yan Feng had been the first emperor of the Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom and once governed it, holding vast power over resource allocation. He had helped many younger generations and still controlled great influence. He and Emperor Wu are like brothers, bound by life and death. He and Emperor Shi are married. Yan Feng, Emperor Shi, and Emperor Wu have always advanced and withdrawn as a trio. They're ancient, ruthless, and have accumulated the most treasures. Di Chu warned that these three each possessed complete sets of Beyond God King-level secret treasures. Their combined might was formidable. Among the 13 emperors, Di Qing ranks first. The trio of Yanfeng, Emperor Shi, and Emperor Wu form the second most powerful force. Di Ming's spiritual will transcends Beyond God King level. That lets his Hunyuan bloodline body unleash terrifying power, and his will's secret techniques are potent. He should be considered the third force among the 13. All the other emperors, including Emperor Consort, look out for their own interests and don't always stick together. Di Chu added, "On the bloodline cultivation path, except for Di Ming, cultivation tends to be violent and unrestrained. The primordial origin body refining path is more rational, but when they scheme, they can be harder to predict." Luo Feng absorbed each name and assessment. He had once thought Emperor Consort might rise to Di Qing's level. In raw strength, among the 12 besides Di Qing, Di Ming was the strongest. Di Chu's tone took on a colder edge. "My greatest enemy is Emperor Wu, a mortal enemy. That's why Yan Feng and Emperor Shi have targeted me." "This disciple understands," Luo Feng replied. Di Chu recounted the ambush. He had been lured into the Sky Pillar world, one of the Origin continent's first treasure lands, and pushed into the deepest part of a putrid blood river. For an ordinary God King Second Realm cultivator, contamination by that river would have been fatal. Even Di Chu's ultimate realm life form had been eroded over 90%. He had been on the brink of death, saved only by a secret treasure found at the riverbed that enabled him to escape. "As long as I can, I will destroy her. She deserves it," Di Chu said calmly. "Are there any emperors who are friendly with you?" Luo Feng asked. Di Chu paused, then shook his head. "None, at least none I would call friends. The other emperors don't hold mortal enmity with me, usually, but they have their own grudges among themselves. I'll send you a detailed intelligence report." Luo Feng received the dossier and studied it. he realized Dichu's position was actually rather good compared to others like Emperor Kong, whose relations with all other emperors were poor. Di Ming, who had once acted against virtually every emperor except Di Qing, had overpowered rivals and seized treasures. His strength kept others from openly making him a mortal enemy, but he had no true friends either. My master, Di Chu, is quite accomplished among the 13 emperors, Luo Feng thought. He hadn't expected Di Ming, who had once been so congenial to him, to be so domineering and fierce. If anything involves other emperors, tell me at once, Di Chu warned. Don't decide anything rashly, or you could get dragged in. Don't worry, master, Luo Feng promised. Half an epoch later, while in Huyang City, Luo Feng's guest official token pinged with a mission. He read it in surprise. Over the years, he'd accepted many missions, but this one was unusual. Mission content. In the royal family's forbidden area, 192 worlds are cultivating 192 Hunyuan bloodline beast eggs, each requiring God King's second realm strength. The task requires arranging 192 clones to carefully tend the eggs for 3,000 epochs. Very few guest officials can complete this mission. After discussion among several emperors, Luo Feng, guest official, has been designated to accept it. Designated me? Luo Feng murmured, astonished. Missions were normally voluntary. Guest officials could refuse, unless this was something different. Chapter 218, The Emperor's Vote. The mission reward was only 5,000 contribution points. It felt insultingly small. The assignment's threshold was high and the task arduous, 3,000 epochs of careful, supervised work. After that much time and risk, 5,000 points? Luo Feng could pick up that much wandering in the dream domain. Who had discussed this mission? Which emperors had designated him? Luo Feng frowned. Before his world life form of the 24-phase form was fully cultivated, he did not want needless conflict with the emperors. Master, I've received a mission assignment. He sent the full text to Emperor Chu at once. Reject it. Emperor Chu's reply came immediately. Nurturing a Hunyuan bloodline beast egg is troublesome. You must juggle multiple tasks, raise it with constant care, under strict supervision. Any negligence will ruin everything. 3,000 epochs will severely stall your cultivation. This is a thankless, exhausting job, Emperor Chu continued. Only stagnating God King Second Realm cultivators who specialize in avatars would take it to curry favor with an emperor. You don't need this. Yes, master. Luo Feng had no intention of accepting. He already possessed the Hunyuan materials necessary for his 24-phase form. Stronger, ultimate Hunyuan materials were jealously guarded by the royal families of the two great ancient kingdoms. Even avatars of the ancestor would be watching any transfer. Even acting as a guard would invite close supervision. Refuse it no matter what, Emperor Chu warned. If you refuse, they'll have backup plans. They'll threaten or bribe you. Refuse everything. Leave the rest to me. Luo Feng agreed silently. If he refused, he would incur their ire, but he trusted his master to handle the fallout. That evening in Huyang City, Luo Feng sat on a high pavilion in the city lord's mansion, drinking fruit wine. The great Tao of life had finally reached the God King's second realm. After the life lotus took root in his inner world, he had become markedly more attuned to the great Tao of life. Studying the life secret patterns of the Star Tower had helped immeasurably. The Star Tower's life-type patterns were the most comprehensive he'd encountered. Tonight, the three branches, life spirituality, life body, and life source, merged perfectly. His realm advanced, and his comprehension of the 24-phase forms smoothed. Just by briefly showing God King's second realm's strength, the emperors had noticed. Previously, he had only publicly shown himself as a peerless God King. First realm, able to contend with the country lord of Heavenly Kun through multiple avatars, and the emperors had ignored him. Now each of them watched him, and some even schemed against him. Luo Feng felt faint, hidden karmic threads beginning to coil around him, subtle but profound strands his spiritual will could not trace. If he couldn't find what they attached to, that only meant they attached to those whose privacies ultimate realm life forms could seal, emperors and monarchs. A sudden change chilled him. The ambient rules shifted, the air ignited with invisible white flames. Luo Feng's expression changed. The flames congealed into a fiery female face that regarded him with icy disdain. Luo Feng stood up and bowed respectfully. Luo He greets the emperor. On the Origin continent, a woman wielding such terrifying flames could be only one person, Emperor Wu, one of the 13 emperors of the Yanfeng ancient kingdom and a bitter enemy of Emperor Chu. Hurry and accept the mission to cultivate the Hunyuan bloodline egg, she ordered. Luo Feng shook his head. Her eyes flashed colder. The white flames licked at Luo Feng's body, corroding it. His world life form screamed as skin and spirit were burned to phantoms, then began to reform. The flames purposely restrained, so they destroyed him to the brink, but did not annihilate him. A world life form, still at the introductory stage, is too weak before an emperor, Luo Feng thought. Even with Master Chu's protection, I can't be reckless. Because you are Emperor Chu's disciple, you dare to refuse me? Emperor Wu's voice hardened. You will accept this mission. Refuse, and every disciple of the Dao River sect will turn to ash. Luo Feng's face went white. An emperor threatening the lives of an entire sect to force his compliance? Speak. Will you agree or refuse? Emperor Wu demanded. A terrible darkness slammed into the white flames, corroding and swallowing them. The dark aura condensed into a burly figure that stared at the fiery face. If you dare burn all the Dao River sect disciples, I will kill another one of your children. Guess which one I'll take this time, the figure said, voice low and cold. The flames flickered. Emperor Wu's eyes filled with killing intent. She had 5 children. 2 had already been completely killed by Emperor Chu, no chance for reincarnation. 3 remained. If all her children died, she would have nothing to hold her back in a war with Emperor Chu. She had to be cautious. For a mere disciple, you threaten me? She snarled. Yes, I threaten you, Emperor Chu answered. With his ultimate realm life form of the great Tao of destruction and powerful curse-killing treasures, he truly could slay Emperor Wu's children and leave no trace. No refuge would save them. The white flames withdrew. Emperor Wu sneered one last time, then vanished. Master. Luo Feng looked at Emperor Chu. Did you see their shamelessness? Emperor Chu's condensed figure laughed softly. I did. When power runs unchecked, one must have the heart to restrain oneself. Cultivating Hunyuan bloodlines corrupts the mind. I let her keep 3 children to bind her. If you ever get entangled with emperors or monarchs, tell me immediately and I'll handle it. Thank you, Master. Luo Feng bowed deeply. He knew the best solution ultimately was to grow stronger himself. Emperor Chu smiled and departed. Luo Feng returned to his cultivation, pouring himself into the 24-phase form. Far away, in a vast space, a council gathered. 12 towering, vague figures coalesced. 12 of the Yanfeng ancient kingdom's emperors, Di Qing absent. Each exuded an aura like a complete great path. Some destructive, some abyssal, some brimming with vitality. This motion was proposed by Emperor Yan, the presiding figure said. Emperor Yan has put forward stripping Luo He of his guest official status. According to royal rules, to remove a guest official requires the agreement of at least half the participating emperors. The guest official system had been set by the ancestor. Stripping such status was not a matter for 1 or 2 emperors to decide lightly. Strip him of his guest official status? Emperor Chu laughed. My disciple Luo He was peerless in the God King First Realm from the start. Now he's reached the God King Second Realm. The blade light he displayed earlier would be top tier among Second Realm God Kings. With such talent, Emperor Yan, you want to strip him? Emperor Chu asked, incredulous. Does our royal court lack talent? Even the country lord of Fangji would not dare to defy Yanfeng. Emperor Yan's face was cold. The majesty of our Yanfeng ancient kingdom matters above all. How has this junior offended that majesty? Emperor Chu pressed. Emperor Yan recited with a sneer. Since becoming a god lord, Luo He has refused every mission. He has taken inheritances worth over 200 million contribution points, using his status as an emperor's disciple, but gives nothing in return. A guest official who only takes is no use to the royal house. The inheritance I gave him, Emperor Chu said, is customary. An emperor may bestow gifts on a disciple. But he refuses to accept missions, Emperor Yan insisted. I went to him myself and asked him to take this one. He didn't even show me the courtesy of obedience. Emperor Wu's voice chimed in, soft and amused. What's the point of a guest official who does not heed an emperor? When an emperor personally speaks, he should obey, a gray, indifferent voice said. Such disrespect for hierarchy demands stripping his status. Emperor, you chuckled. The ancestor decreed that guest officials have the right to refuse. Yet you believe your rank denies him that right? Before you, he must submit? Emperor Zhuan snapped from the side. The old wounds ran deep. Emperor Yan and his allies had insulted him before. He could not forgive those slights. Emperor Consort rubbed her temples, weary of the bickering. Decide on Emperor Yan's proposal. The votes were cast. 5 emperors supported stripping Luo He of his guest official status, those who had been especially affronted by his refusals and Emperor Wu's confrontation. 6 emperors opposed the motion, defending the ancient kingdom's rights to protect gifted juniors and bristling at Yan's heavy-handedness. Emperor Consort abstained. Emperor Yan's expression turned stormy. He had expected the motion to pass. He had counted on favor and influence, and yet the vote failed. He had not expected the consort, someone he'd flattered, to abstain. The council dispersed into murmurs and scheming, but the outcome was clear. Luo He would keep his guest official status for now. The emperors had shown their divisions, and Luo Feng, halfway across the world, could only sense the tremors of power and politics closing in around him. Chapter 219, Tianzhu Realm. The proposal to strip a guest official of his status required the agreement of at least half of the emperors present. An abstention was effectively a no vote. Emperor Yan stared at Emperor Consort, stunned. He had long respected Emperor Consort. Both were among Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom's earliest emperors, Yan I and Consort II. In those founding days, the emperors had been relatively united. Later, Emperor Consort abandoned his deep primordial bloodline heritage and chose to reincarnate, becoming even more formidable. He cultivated his body with formations, relying little on external aids, and had achieved the ultimate realm life form, an act that had shocked the entire origin continent. Emperor Yan could see Consort's potential clearly. If anyone might become the next Di Qing, it was him. Even if Consort didn't break through this cycle, after leaving the Source World, he certainly would. He had always kept on good terms with Emperor Consort. So Emperor Consort taking a stand against him over such a small matter felt like a betrayal. Emperor Yan, Emperor Consort said softly, Luo He only became a god king a little over 200 epochs ago, stripping his guest official status because he refused a mission for a little over 200 epochs. If this gets out, we'll be blamed. After all, the ancestor set the right to refuse missions. Emperor Yan watched him. The words were gently spoken, but they rang hollow. Forget it. Emperor Yan's figure dissolved, and he withdrew. One by one, Emperor Shi and Emperor Wu followed. Does he really think Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom is what it used to be? Emperor Kong sneered. Still wants to do as he pleases. More emperors began to leave. Di Chu raised his head as the crowd thinned. Emperor Consort. Soon only Emperor Consort and Di Chu remained in the vast expanse. Emperor Consort, thank you, Di Chu said with a smile. Emperor Consort's vote had been the last and thus decisive. If he had voted to agree, Luo He's guest official status would have been revoked. His final choice mattered. Emperor Consort smiled. Luo He did nothing wrong. I saw the mission Emperor Yan and his faction wanted to give him, splitting into 192 clones to tend primordial bloodline beast eggs for 3,000 epochs. For an ordinary God King Second Realm, 3,000 epochs isn't short. But Luo He advanced from God King to God King Second Realm after only a little over 200 epochs in the God King stage. He's at a crucial juncture to make him stall his cultivation for 3,000 epochs. Anyone would refuse. Yes, Di Chu nodded. He's at a critical point. If he were stalled for hundreds of thousands of epochs, that would be different, but now it's unsuitable. However, Emperor Consort said, after Luo He became a God King, he hasn't taken any missions. If we let him accept a mission quickly, Yan and the others lose their pretext. Accepting a mission would be fine, Di Chu agreed, as long as it doesn't affect his cultivation. I have a mission available. What do you think? Emperor Consort immediately dispatched it to Di Chu. Guard the entrance to the first treasure land, Sky Pillar World, for 1,000 epochs. Di Chu's eyes brightened. Good, very good. Emperor Consort continued. Guarding requires splitting into 36 clones, but the duty itself strains the mind little. You only fight if invaders appear, and those chances are extremely rare over 1,000 epochs. I have no objections, Dichu said. It's an excellent assignment. Missions like that were prized by guest official god kings. Minimal mental burden, little fatigue, and a chance to explore parts of the first treasure land, Sky Pillar World. Dichu accepted the task and would pass it to Luo He. He left in high spirits. Emperor Consort remained alone in the Great Void. A colossal formation unfurled, revealing countless nodes of the Origin Continent's records. The node concerning Luo He shone conspicuously. From the primordial universe, reincarnated to the Origin Continent, became an eternal true god upon arrival, became a god king in just over 100 epochs, then reached God King's second realm a little more than 200 epochs later, favored by the supreme rule. Emperor Consort's expression grew thoughtful. With that potential, after leaving the Origin Continent, he should be my fellow traveler. When it came to deducing the Origin Continent's mysteries, Emperor Consort ranked first. Like Empress Feng Du, the Earth God King, the Mother River Master, the enigmatic being of Shadow Sky World, and the Fire Ancestor, there were many transcendents, but few could cultivate into an ultimate realm life form. Consort had done so without consuming vast treasures, simply by cultivating his body with formations. Aside from Di Qing and the Lord of Myriad Worlds, he was one of the most promising to reach the ultimate realm in this era. As the ancestor said, danger outside the Origin Continent is abundant and survival is difficult, he thought. Emperor Yan and his circle, with their temperaments and paths, are poor choices as companions. Luo He might be a better fellow traveler, and I might even need his help. Only a handful on the Origin Continent earned Emperor Consort's genuine respect. Luo He was one of them. Huyang City. Luo He stared at the mission to guard the entrance of Sky Pillar World. The assignment required 1,000 epochs and paid 10 million guest official merits. It should have seemed almost unbelievably fortunate. How did such a good mission come to me? He murmured. Sky Pillar World was the first treasure land. The two great ancient kingdoms had sealed its entrances completely. Any force trying to enter had to fight its way through. Only emperors and monarchs usually guarded it. Yanfeng would send an emperor and Thunder Ancient Country a monarch. They were the core defense. Master Di Chu sent a message. Did you receive the mission? Yes, Master. How did such a good mission end up with me? Luo He asked. Emperor Consort granted it to you, Di Chu replied. Yan and his group were trying to strip you of your guest official status. At that meeting, 5 emperors agreed. Emperor Yan, Emperor Shi, Emperor Wu, Emperor Yuan, and another Emperor Wu, 5 total. If a 6th had agreed, you would have lost your status. Emperor Consort intervened and gave you this mission. I'll send you a map and intelligence on Sky Pillar World. Make good use of it. Di Chu immediately transmitted maps and briefings. Understood. I'll head to Sky Pillar World now. As soon as Luo He accepted the mission, departure followed. A black-clad Luo He clone silently left Huyang City and moved toward the nearest Sky Pillar World entrance. Sky Pillar World had 36 entrances. The closest one lay suspended in a vast wilderness. At Luo He's realm, he could sense a wide swath of distorted void. He dove in, and a wash of golden light enveloped the space. In the distance, a white-boned figure sat cross-legged, pure white, smooth bones, but with a pair of ordinary, calm eyes. God King Luo He, the white-boned figure rose and smiled. My duty just expired, and I guessed who would take over. It's you, God King Luo He, who recently advanced to God King's second realm. The governing emperor clearly thinks highly of you. The cultivation of the 192 primordial bloodline beast eggs had been Emperor Wu's responsibility, so he had issued that mission. Guarding Sky Pillar World as the first treasure land could only be assigned by a governing emperor. It's luck, Luo He said. First, we'll pay respects to Emperor Xuan, the white-boned figure said. Emperor Xuan is primarily responsible for guarding Sky Pillar World. We only assist. Thank you, White Abundance God King. White Abundance God King, one of Yanfeng's guest official God Kings, a God King's second realm of the Great Tao of Life, had a life-and-death friendship with Emperor Xuan. She sent off a clone to accompany Luo He deeper in. The entrance formations were a blend of the two great ancient kingdoms' arrays. A guest official God King from Thunder Ancient Country stood guard there too, a figure with long, water-blue hair. Luo He noticed a majestic sky pillar towering upward, its top lost to sight. There are 36 sky pillars, one at each entrance, White Abundance said. They support the sky pillar world. Each pillar holds opportunities you can investigate while on duty. Luo nodded. 36 clones were required to guard the entrances. He could spare a few to explore the outer regions. Only the two great royal families may enter the inner regions, White Abundance warned. We can only explore the outer zones. Luo had learned that from Dichu's briefing. Sky Pillar World wasn't a typical treasure land. It was the most important site left by Yuan, obsessively monopolized by the two great ancient kingdoms. As they passed two entrance formations and pushed inward, the boundary of the inner region came into view, sealed by a formation. Emperor, White Abundance saluted, and a figure stepped out from within. He wore black robes etched with golden patterns, his presence pressed down like a mountain. Cold eyes swept the area. Luo greets the Emperor. Luo recognized him as Emperor Xuan, the same emperor who had been Guisu Emperor's master in another life. From prior conversations, Luo knew Guishu had been indebted to his master. Royal family rules. Emperor Xuan regarded Luo with aloofness. You are to guard the entrance and may explore the outer regions. You are forbidden from entering the inner regions of Sky Pillar World. Yes. Luo bowed. When guarding, if an intruder is detected, cooperate fully with the formation to resist. I'll come as quickly as I can. Emperor Xuan's voice was cold. Yes. Luo answered again. Emperor Xuan turned and receded into the inner formation. Luo sighed inwardly. Among the emperors with primordial origin bloodlines, Emperor Xuan was known for a decent temperament, aloof and strict about hierarchy. That same aloofness made him careful about reputation and protocol. Chapter 220, Guarding Years. God King Bai, let's go finish the handover. Luo Feng looked to God King Baishan at his side. Baishan nodded, and then his body split, forming 36 avatars. I'll lead the way, he said. Luo Feng followed suit, dividing into 36 avatars and heading to different entrances of Sky Pillar World for the handover. The Boundless Origin Great Path, Life Origin Great Path, Great Path of Time, and Great Path of Space all have avatar techniques, but each works differently. The Great Path of Time, for example, only produces 3 avatars, the past, present, and future, yet each is a complete body and soul at peak strength, as if 3 full selves stood before an enemy. The Great Path of Space is similar. It yields a limited number of avatars, but those avatars can each maintain a whole body and soul. Life and Boundless behave differently. The Life Path can create countless avatars, but they are fragments split from the main body. The more one splits, the weaker each piece becomes. Luo Feng has a single potent soul. Any split reduces its strength. The Boundless Path, despite its name, is ultimately singular as well. Other paths envy those differences. Some great paths like destruction, extremity, karma, materiality, and worlds generally can't cultivate avatar techniques. Yuan's illusory avatars, for instance, stem from the great path of the illusory realm, a path not native to Origin Continent. Yuan is attempting a fusion of the illusory realm and the great path of worlds, an even tougher road than Luo Feng's. Luo Feng's foundations, life and destruction, both have complete great paths to draw from. Yuan's does not. Trying to fuse without a reference makes it ethereal and almost unreachable. Luo, this town defender post will be entrusted to you from now on. After the handover, God King Ye smiled as he briefed Luo Feng. Being a town defender here will bring grievances. You will have to endure much. I understand, Luo Feng smiled. Sky Pillar World, the foremost treasure land, hosts the most guest cultivators serving as town defenders. Those who truly enter the world's depths are often high-ranking members of the 2 great ancient kingdoms' royal families, many of whom cultivate the Hunyuan bloodline and have terrible tempers. God King Baishan nodded and flew off. Luo Feng saw him away. He reflected. God King Ye and Emperor Xuan are sworn brothers, and Ye has fully joined Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom, but he seems to have suffered much ill treatment. Yanfeng's royal family values God King-level guest cultivators highly. They wouldn't waste effort on weaklings. In strength, God King Ye is comparable to Palace Master Tiandu and Guishu Emperor, and is very renowned. From an outsider's view, Luo Feng, who once matched the Lord of Shi Country at God King First Realm, and now reached God King Second Realm with many avatars, stands not far behind Baishan and Guishu Emperor. More important is his meteoric rise and immense potential, enough to make emperors and monarchs take notice. That's why Emperor Yan, Emperor Shi, and Emperor Wu targeted him. They felt threatened and tried to strip his guest status to block his opportunities. But Emperor Consort arranged for Luo Feng to guard Sky Pillar World. When the governing emperor favors someone, the others have little recourse. Buzz. Luo Feng activated the array disk he'd received in the handover. The Grand Array's terrifying power enveloped the area. 36 auxiliary arrays integrated with the central core, and Emperor Xuan primarily controlled the whole formation. Luo Feng realized he could guide and mobilize the array's power, though he could not command it completely. With the array's power, I can suppress Guishu Emperor, God King Wuxian, and the others, he thought. Yanfeng Ancient Kingdom's array in the first treasure land was among the most formidable. Even the Reincarnation little building team could only proceed by withstanding the array when led by figures like Empress Feng Du or God King Dadi. If the emperors and monarchs who guarded the two great ancient kingdoms attacked together under the array's protection, their combined force would be unimaginable. Although Luo Feng served as a town defender, he dared not let cultivators enter privately. Emperor Xuan, as array controller, could sense all movement. His role was to make breaching the array 10 times or 100 times harder. Without a town defender carrying an array disk, the fixed array would be much easier to break. With him, attackers would first have to kill the defender. Under the array's protection, killing an avatar of Luo Feng that had reached God King Third Realm strength would be extraordinarily hard. According to Master's information, the greatest opportunities in Sky Pillar World's outer area are the 36 Sky Pillars. Luo Feng's mind moved. He sent an avatar toward one of the distant, towering pillars. As a guest cultivator, he couldn't enter Sky Pillar World's inner opportunities, only the outer ones. The Sky Pillars were so tall their tops disappeared into the void. Luo Feng landed before one and immediately noticed a figure in purple armor not far off. Yano Demon King. He recognized him at once. Yano Demon King was one of Thunder Ancient Country's top 3 guest god kings, following the great path of destruction and also cultivating the Hunyuan bloodline. His strength and value to his nation were terrifying. Yano looked up. God King Luo He. He smiled, arrogant but cautious. He would not underestimate Luo He. Many ancient powerhouses believed God King Luo He had emperor-level potential. Luo Feng nodded and turned his attention to the Sky Pillar. Secret patterns crawled across its surface. As he watched, the patterns coalesced into a gigantic axe that seemed boundless, too vast for him to see in full. The axe felt like it cleaved through rules themselves, splitting everything apart. Luo Feng stood fascinated for hours before finally withdrawing. This conception surpasses even a complete great path, he thought. There was a hint of the Star Tower's scarlet scales in it, but the Star Tower's patterns were far more detailed and required a Beyond God King's will to inspect. This Sky Pillar was different. A God King ultimate realm could observe it, and its patterns were rougher and more casual. Luo Feng counted roughly 3,600 intertwined secret patterns leading into the axe diagram. Simpler than the scarlet scales, yet profound in conception, the pressure to observe was far less. Many God King Second Realm cultivators of Origin Continent could view this hidden scene. It feels like the great path of destruction, but far deeper. Luo Feng wasn't in a hurry to assimilate it. His priority was the 24-phase form and breaking through with the world life form as quickly as possible. These Sky Pillar scenes, each with artistic conceptions beyond a complete great path and deceptively simple secret patterns, would be far harder to fully comprehend than a complete great path. That was why the two great ancient kingdoms allowed their guests to observe them. Grasping even a fragment could yield a powerful secret technique. Luo Feng examined many of the 36 Sky Pillars. Each pillar's secret patterns unfolded into a distinct scene: a world-cleaving axe, an endless river, a strange cube, a lotus of fire. Each artistic conception transcended known great paths. He thought, after comprehending a complete great path, there's no clear path forward. One has to grope in the dark. These 36 Sky Pillars are like lamps in that dark, pointing the way. The pillars related mainly to the 9 origin great paths, For instance, the Life Path and the Great Path of Destruction each had 4 sky pillars. Luo Feng felt Senior Yuan's consideration for junior cultivators. The setup was thoughtful. He settled into the outer area to guard and focus on cultivation. Epochs passed. Whoosh whoosh. 2 figures flew into the array. Their talismans resonated with it. They passed through unobstructed. Luo Feng, on duty, looked up. "So God King Luo He is guarding," one of them said with a smile. Luo Feng returned the smile. "God King Tianmu, long time no see." He remembered meeting Tianmu when he first went to the treasure land Infinite Space. Tianmu, a god king of Yanfeng's royal family, had been unusually friendly then, and Luo Feng had not forgotten. "We are fated," Tianmu smiled. "When you went to Infinite Space, you were still in the Chaos Realm. I was already in God King First Realm then. Now you're God King Second Realm, and I remain God King First Realm." Tianmu sighed. His resources had been better than Luo Feng's, letting him enter many treasure lands and gather rare resources. In the First Realm, he had resisted using the Hunyuan bloodline. He wanted to reach the Second Realm on his own first. "Come, let's go." Another royal family god king of the Second Realm frowned and urged, not bothering with a greeting. Tianmu bid farewell to Luo Feng and left with his companion. Luo Feng watched them go. In 27 epochs of guarding Sky Pillar World, 2 Yanfeng royal family god kings and 3 from Thunder Ancient Country arrived. The Thunder royal family god kings barely glanced at him, offering no courtesy before entering Sky Pillar World's depths. Luo Feng lamented inwardly that Thunder Ancient Country's royal family often treated non-royals like servants, while Yanfeng was somewhat better. During the quieter years, Luo Feng advanced through the stages of the 24-phase form one by one. The deeper his accumulation, the faster the remaining phases fell, until at last, completely comprehended, he finished. It's done. Across infinite space, Dream Domain, Sky Pillar World, his home in the Primordial Universe region, Yang City, and other places, all of Luo Feng's scattered avatars smiled at that moment.